welcome back to Math&Me with me Nikhila Shankar. So today we are going to start with a new chapter, Continuity and Differentiability. So you have learned limits and derivatives in your class 11, correct? So in the continuity, it is a continuation of the limits chapter, okay? So basically in limits, what did you learn? When does a limit exist? A limit exists only when the left hand limit equals the right hand limit. அப்போ limit exists ன்னு நம்ம சொல்றோம். இப்போ continuityக்கு நம்ம என்ன சொல்ல போறோம்? We are going to say that a function is continuous if and only if the left hand limit is equal to the right hand limit and it is equal to f of c. So for example, you have a point c. C is any real number on the number line, okay? So இப்போ left hand limit na limit f of x when x tends to c minus, left hand limit na c minus to the left. For example, you have a number line. You have a number line and this is the point c. Left hand limit na the values which are to the left of c and it is very very close to c, correct? Apro right hand limit na the values which are to the right of c and which is very very close to c, correct? So this is my left hand limit, right hand limit. This is equal to f of c. Or if you don't have two different conditions, ipo indha mari rendu condition illama, if you have only one condition, you can simply say limit x tends to c of f of x equals f of c na the function is continuous, okay? So now what have I drawn on the board? What do you see? F of x is some function which is 1 when x is less than or equal to 0 and 2 when x is greater than 0. Abdina narthom when x is less than or equal to 0. So this is my x line. When x is less than or equal to 0, to the left of the negative x-axis, to the left of y-axis, you only have the values 1. You see positive 1. What happens when x is greater than 0? X is greater than 0, not to the right side of the graph. You have all the values to be 2. It keeps extending, correct? In the line, it is infinite. So you have x less than or equal to 0 to be 1 and x greater than 2 to be greater than 0 to be 2. Ipo in the I have marked this with a black dot and here I have only put a circle. There is a difference between a shaded dot and a circle. Shaded dot na in the particular point is included. You see here x is less than or equal to 0. Equal to 0 na at x is equal to 0 the value is 1. But at x is equal to 2 the value is not 2. 1 அப்ப not 2 na எப்படி போடுவோம்? We put it with a circle which is not shaded, okay? So the shaded unshaded circle it shows that the value is not included. So apart from in the x is equal to 0 தவிர எல்லா இடத்துலயும் 0.00001 க்குமே the value is 2 because it is greater than 0. So இந்த இடத்துல 0.01 லேந்து for all the values you have the value to be 2. But only x is equal to 0, it is not 2. அப்ப you mark it with a circle. Similarly, you have an example here. F of x equals 1 and x is not equal to 0 and x is equal to 0 la 2 irukku. If x is not equal to 0 everywhere else, where here x is equal to 0, if x is not equal to 0 na all these liya. So all these values everywhere to the left and right of the y-axis, you have the value to be 1. Correct? But what if your value is 0? At 0 your value is 2. Okay? Appo indha edathila indha unshaded circle it shows that this particular value is not included and this is one straight line where this value is not included. இப்போ இந்த ரெண்டு கிராஃப்லயுமே நம்ம என்ன பார்க்கறோம்? You're drawing this line, you come to this point and when you have to draw the other line, you have to take your pen and you have to draw the line. கையை எடுத்துட்டு தானே அடுத்த லைன் போட முடியும். Similarly here, you're going to draw a line. You're coming to the point 0. 0 la you have to jump here. You have to take your pen, you have to jump to this particular point. Again you have to take your pen and you have to jump to this particular point and draw the rest of the line. Appadina enna artham? This is not continuous. Continuous na enna? You have to draw a straight line like this. Continuous ah illa na you're drawing a straight line, you're jumping somewhere and then you're continuing the straight line. Ipo nadula indha chinna gap irukka, andha chinna gap inge fulfill aichu, which means this is not continuous. So you have continuity only if it satisfies this particular condition. If it is not continuous, then it is discontinuous at C and C is called the point of discontinuity. Point of discontinuity enna nu kepanga. So discontinuity na enna? It is not continuous at that particular point. Abdina that point is called the point of discontinuity, okay? So this is some basic theory. So these two functions are not continuous. Nee B code podra, you have to take your pen, you have to draw the other line. You're drawing the line, you have to take your pen, put the dot, you have to draw the rest of the line. So this is not continuous, okay? We'll see continuous functions from example questions, okay? Please copy. So moving on to some example questions. You have example 1 which says you have to check if this particular function is continuous at x is equal to 1. If continuous ke enna, what did we see? What condition did we see for the function to be continuous? So if the function is continuous, you have limit x tends to c of f of x should be equal to f of c. In the இடத்துல c என்ன? Your value of c is equal to 1. You're going to take the condition that we want to prove to be c. So that is your value. If the x is equal to 1 becomes c equals 1. So what is f of c? First let me find f of c. Appo wherever I have x, I'm going to put c. So 2c plus 3. And what is my value of c? 1. So 2 times 1 plus 3. So this is going to be 2 plus 3, which is 5. So this is my f of c. F of c kandupidichachu. And what is my limit x tends to c? I have limit x tends to c, which is 1 of f of x. F of x enna? 2x plus 3. So when I substitute the limits la enna padichom? Whenever you have a limit, you can directly substitute it to the function. So you have x tends to 1, 2x plus 3. So if indha இடத்துல x க்கு 1 substitute panna, I'll have 2 times 1 plus 3, which is 2 plus 3, 5. So what do you see? F of c, you see that this particular condition is satisfied. Limit x tends to c of f of c is equal to 5. Apra f of c is also equal to 5. You see that? So these two are equal, which means the given function is continuous. Okay? You only have to prove or check this particular condition. If it's true, then you have proved that it is continuous at 1. Value at 1. Okay? So this is my first example. Please copy. Let's move on to the second example. So second question enna kuduthirukku? I have f of x equals x square. I have to apply the same thing. Ipo indha இடத்துல c oda value enna? C is going to be 0. So what is f of c first? C square. Appo f of 0 enna? 0 square, which is going to be 0. Next, what is the next step? Limit x tends to c, which is 0 of f of x, which is x square. Ipo x க்கு 0 substitute panna enna agum? It is going to be 0 square again. So what do you see? Limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c. Hence, f of x is continuous at 0. Okay, it is very, very simple and straightforward. So this is my example 2. Now, example 3 is a little different, but adeda. Okay, please copy example 2. Okay, now example 3. F of x is equal to mod x. So mod x na enna artham? Mod x can also be written as minus x when x is less than 0, and x is if x is greater than or equal to 0. இந்த மாதிரி எழுதலாமா? For negative values, the mod function is going to take the values minus x. For positive values of x, the values are going to be positive. So what is my first step? F of c கண்டுபிடிக்கணும். What is my c? 0. Okay. Now what is f of c? It is going to be mod c. அப்ப f of 0 என்ன ஆக போகுது? Mod 0, which is simply 0. 0 க்கு positive negative la இருக்கா? கிடையாது. Okay, you found your f of c. Now I have two different limits, correct? One left hand limit and one right hand limit. So I have to find both. So x tends to 0 minus, this is my left hand limit of f of x, which is mod x, which is going to be 0 minus na enna artham? The function is to the left. Appo it is going to take all the values which are negative. So x tends to 0, mod x becomes minus x. So what does this limit become? When I substitute 0 to this, I'll get 0. Appo left hand limit enna vandirukku? 0. Okay. Now what is my right hand limit? Limit x tends to 0 plus of f of x. 0 plus na the values are to the positive side of the x. Appo enna value edukom? X greater than or equal to 0. So it is going to be x. So I have limit x tends to 0 plus of plus x. Appo limit ku 0 substitute panna enna agum? I'll get a 0. What do you see? Left hand limit equals the right hand limit, which is also equal to f of c, which is equal to 0. Appo enna artham? The given function is continuous. So f of x is continuous at 0. Okay, very, very simple. So your example questions are going to be very, very simple, and so is your exercise questions. Okay, please copy. Example 4. F of x is equal to rendu condition kuduthirukku. X not equal to 0, x cube plus 3. When x is equal to 0, I have 1. So I need to find if it is continuous at x is equal to 0. Appo first step enna? I need to find what my f of c is. So what is my f of c when fc is equal to 0? C is equal to 0, and it is going to be simply 1. So you have found out what your c is, f of c. Okay, now you have left hand limit and right hand limit, correct? Rendu condition irukku. So what is your left hand limit? Limit x tends to 0 minus of f of x. You see that the value is 0, correct? So limit x tends to 0 minus of f of x is going to take the value limit x tends to 0 minus of x cube plus 3. If the value substitute panna enna agum? I'll have 0 cube plus 3, which is going to be 3. Okay, this is my left hand limit. If right hand limit enna? It is going to be a similar one. limit x tends to 0 plus அப்படினா அர்த்தம் it is not equal to 0 but any value which is not 0 correct? So I have to take this function again. So I'll have x cube plus 3. When I substitute the value of 0, I'll again have 0 cube plus 3 which is equal to 3. இப்போ இங்க என்ன தெரியுது? Left hand limit is equal to right hand limit, but this is not equal to f of c. So one of the conditions is not satisfied, which means the given function is not continuous. Okay? அவ்வளவுதான் simple. You just have to check if it satisfies your conditions. If not, it is not continuous. So what is your point of discontinuity? X is equal to 0. So x is equal to 0 is the point of discontinuity. Okay? Point of discontinuity. Okay? Now, moving on to example 5. Example 5 you have to find at which points the function is continuous. இந்த இடத்துல என்ன பாயிண்ட்னு கொடுக்கல, but you have to find out at which point. f of x is equal to k and அர்த்தம் it is a constant. You do not have any x here. The function, given function is not dependent on x. அப்போ first step என்ன? f of c is simply going to be k. For any value of c, it is going to be k. இந்த இடத்துல இப்போ x இருந்திருந்ததுன்னா you can put c here. You do not have anything here. It is not dependent on the variable x. Correct? அப்போ f of c is equal to k. Similarly, limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of k. Do you have anything that is dependent on x? The k is not dependent on x. I will take k outside the limit. What else is left? Nothing. Limit x tends to c of 1 and nothing. 1. So this is going to be k into 1, which is k. So what do you have? Limit x tends to c of f of x equals f of c for all values, for all real numbers. So the given function is continuous. F of x is continuous in the whole real plane. Is continuous in the whole real plane. For any real number, this is going to be true. Okay? So this is continuous for all real numbers. இப்போ அதே மாதிரி example 6, I have f of x is equal to x. You have to prove that it is continuous for all real numbers. இதே மாதிரி you have to prove. So what is your first step? F of c is going to be c. For any value of c, this function is true. Correct? For 0, this is going to be true. See, for c is equal to 0, you have f of 0 is equal to 0. For any value which is c less than 0, this is going to be true. For c less than 0 or c greater than 0, you are going to have f of c is equal to c. Correct? So it satisfies for any value. அதே மாதிரி limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of x. When you substitute the value, you are getting c. So what do you see? F of c equals limit x tends to c of f of x, which means f of x is continuous for all, in the symbol enna, for all real numbers. Okay, this is real numbers, capital R. Okay. Example 8, you have to find the points at which the given function is continuous. If first step enna, f of c is going to be c cube plus c square minus 1. For any value of c, this is going to be true. Correct? If 0 potalo, it is going to satisfy the given function. Any value which is less than 0 or greater than 0, it is going to satisfy. Okay, what is the next step? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of what is your f of x? X cube plus x square minus 1. When you substitute x to the given function, you will have c cube plus c square minus 1. So, in the what do you see? Limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be f of c. This is the only condition that you have to remember. If you don't have any different conditions, it's simple. If you have two different conditions, you have to find your left hand limit and the right hand limit. Okay, that's difference. So this is the given either. So f of x is continuous for all real numbers. This is true, correct? If you're going to put the value of 0 here, you'll get a minus 1. Value of 0 here, you're going to get minus 1. Correct? So, rendu limit it is going to be always equal for all values of c for any real number on the number line. Okay? So, this is example 8. Example 9 and f of x is equal to 1 by x when x is not equal to 0. So, you have to prove this is continuous for the given function. So, what is your f of c? Your f of c is going to be 1 by c. 1 by c is true only when c is not equal to 0. What if it's equal to 0? In that way, we are going to learn something new. So 1 by 0 is going to be infinity. Okay, and also minus 1 by 0 is going to be minus infinity. These are the two things that is new to you. If 0 denominator la vandaduna, we have always learnt in your limits that it is not defined. Okay, but I have also taught you in class 11 that it is equal to infinity. Okay, so this is something new that you are going to learn. But in the particular case la, they have given the condition. So in that c வந்து denominator la varakudadu because it is not defined. Now what is limit x tends to c of f of x? This is going to be limit x tends to c of 1 by c and 1 by x. Sorry, what is the f of x? 1 by x. When I substitute the value of c, I'll get 1 by c. இப்போ என்ன தெரியுது? f of c is equal to limit x tends to c of f of x, which means f of x is continuous for all real numbers except 0. Correct? Except 0, it is true. So in the இடத்துலயுமே c is not equal to 0. So this satisfies the given condition that is given in your question. Okay. So example 10. இந்த இடத்துல x ஓட value என்ன கொடுத்திருக்கு? 1. So you have to check if this given function is continuous at 1. அப்போ you have to split the given question into 3 cases. Okay, you always have to do it when you have two different conditions. So you have to prove if it is true for c equal to 1, c less than 1 and c greater than 1. So these are your 3 different conditions. If c equal to 1 la, what is your first step? You have f of c is equal எங்க இருக்கு? x plus 2. So it is going to be c plus 2. When f of 1, you'll have 1 plus 2, which is 3. So f of c கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சா? Okay. Now you have two different conditions, correct? So you have to check your left hand limit and the right hand limit. So x tends to 1 minus, this is my left hand limit. Minus na enna? Left hand limit of f of x is going to be limit x tends to 1 minus of எந்த இடத்துல x less than or equal to 1 la, I'll have the condition x plus 2. This is my function for the condition x less than or equal to 1. So when I substitute the value of 1, I'll have 1 plus 2, which is 3. இப்போ right hand limit x tends to 1 plus of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to 1 plus right hand limit la greater than 1. So what is my function? X minus 2. So when I substitute the value, I'll have 1 minus 2, which is going to be minus 1. What do you see? F of c is equal to the left hand limit, but it is not equal to the right hand limit. So you have left hand limit not equal to the right hand limit. So f of x is not continuous at 1. But what happens when c is less than 1 or c is greater than 1? In the இடத்துல you have the number 1. You proved that it is not continuous at 1. Now you have to check for all the points which are less than 1 and all the points which are greater than 1. Okay, that is what we are doing here. If c less than 1 la enna panna porom? What do you have? F of c is going to be, whenever your c is less than 1, your x is going to be less than 1. Appo what is your one and only condition? X plus 2, and in this case it is going to be c plus 2. Correct? இந்த இடத்துல f of x is going to be x plus 2. So your f of c is going to be c plus 2. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of f of x and the one and only condition x plus 2. So when I substitute the value of c, I'll have c plus 2. What do you see? F of c is equal to the limit. So limit x tends to c of f of x equals f of c. So f of x is continuous for all values where c is less than 1. At 1 da discontinuous. For less than 1 it is continuous. Similarly, what is for greater than 1? What is the one and only condition? C greater than 1 na x greater than 1. So it is going to be x minus 2. So what is going to be your f of c? C minus 2. இப்போ limit substitute பண்ணலாமா? Limit x tends to c of f of x. What is my f of x? Limit x tends to c of x minus 2. C substitute பண்ணா c minus 2. What do you see? The limit is equal to f of c. So limit x tends to c of f of x equals f of c, which means f of x is continuous at all values, or I can simply write for all values. So f is continuous for all values where c is greater than 1. So what is your one and only point of discontinuity? Point of discontinuity is 1. So except 1, everywhere it is continuous. Okay, 1 is the point of discontinuity. And that continuous illa, because you see that your left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit even though it is equal to f of c. Okay, example 11, f of x is equal to the given function. Ipo 3 irukku, at x is equal to 1 they have given the value directly, correct? Appo f of c enna, f of c, when f of c is equal to 1, the value of c enna, it is going to be 1. So f of c is f of 1 and the value is 0. Simple. Okay, what happens when c is less than 1? What is your one and only function? When c is less than 1, f of x is going to be x plus 2. Appo f of c is going to be c plus 2. What happens to your limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x. What is my f of x? For c less than 1, it is going to be limit x tends to c of x plus 2. C substitute panna, I'll have c plus 2. So what do you see? Limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c for all values when c is less than 1. So in the given function is continuous. Okay, so this is when c is less than 1. If c greater than 1 again, similar condition. So what is your one and only f of x? X greater than 1 na, c greater than 1. So I'll have x minus 2. So f of c is going to be c minus 2. So I found out what my f of c is. புரியுதா நான் என்ன பண்றேன்னா, I'm finding what my f of c is, then I'm finding what my limit is. So இப்போ limit கண்டுபிடிச்சா என்ன ஆகும்? Limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of x minus 2. f of x enna, x minus 2. And I substitute c, I'll have c minus 2. So what do I see? Limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c for all values when c is greater than 1. Correct? So this is continuous for c greater than 1. Ipo you see that these values and these values are not equal to this. Correct? In the left hand limit and the right hand limit are not equal to the actual function itself. So basically this is a generalized way of writing. Appo indha edathila c oda value enna? The value of c is going to be 1. Appo indha edathila when I substitute the value of 1, when c is equal to 1, I'll have 1 plus 2 which is 3. Appo f of c enna? It is going to be 3. Similarly when I substitute 1 here, I'll have 1 plus 2 which is 3. You see that these two are equal. Similarly inga enna irukku, when value of c is equal to 1, I'll have f of c to be 1 minus 2 which is minus 1, and in the edathilime 1 minus 2 which is minus 1. So you see that these two values are equal. But what do you see? 0 is not equal to 3 is not equal to minus 1. So you have left hand limit not equal to right hand limit which is also not equal to f of c. So it is not continuous at 1. In the edathila c greater than 1 it is continuous, c less than 1 it is continuous, but at 1 it is not continuous. So not continuous at 1. Which is not continuous? The function f of x is not continuous at 1. Okay, generalized case edunga, but you also have to see that it is not continuous at 1. Okay, you have to simply substitute the value for c which is 1. Example 12, f of x is equal to in the particular function. Okay, now what happens when c is less than 0? I'll have the one and only condition to be x plus 2. Appo f of c enna? It is going to be c plus 2. Now what will my limit be? Limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of x plus 2. When I substitute for the limit, I'll have c plus 2. So what do I see? F of c is equal to the limit. Okay, limit x tends to c of f of x equals f of c, which means the given function is continuous for all values when c is less than 0. Correct? So this is c less than 0. If c greater than 0 enna, the one and only condition for f of x is minus x plus 2. Appo f of c enna? Minus c plus 2. So what is this? Is my f of c. Ipo limit edutha, limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of minus x plus 2, and I substitute the value of c to the limit, I'll have minus c plus 2. So rendume equal. So this is going to be continuous for all values where c is greater than 0. Appo c less than 0 it is continuous, c greater than 0 it is continuous. At 0 they have not given anything in the question. So the given answer, so the final answer is f of x is continuous in the domain. Avladhaan. If they are given some condition for 0 also, this condition would have been true in all the real number. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல 0 பத்தி நமக்கு தெரியாது. We are not saying that it is discontinuous at 0 or we are not saying it is continuous at 0. We are not talking about the point 0 itself. 0 க்கு less than பார்க்கறோம், 0 க்கு greater than பார்க்கறோம். Okay, so f of x is continuous in the given domain. This is how you write your final answer. Okay, we do not know anything about what happens when x is equal to 0. Okay, x less than 0 க்கும் greater than 0 க்கும் மட்டும் தான் தெரியும். Okay, example 13. This is going to be very similar to the previous example except இந்த இடத்துல 0 க்கும் condition கொடுத்திருக்கு. So first, when c is equal to 0, what is your one and only condition? At 0 it is going to be x. அப்ப f of c என்ன? This is going to be c. So this is my first case. c equal to 0 னா அர்த்தம் f of 0 is going to be 0. So this is my f of c when c is equal to 0. Okay, done. What is my next step? Limit x tends to c, which is 0, of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to, I'll write c here and I'll substitute the value in my next step. c inge 0 and it is going to be f of x and x. So this is 0. So you have limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c. So at 0 the given function is continuous. Okay, short form. இப்போ c less than 0 பார்க்கணும். What is my one and only condition? f of x is equal to less than na x square. So f of c is equal to c square. Okay, now limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of x square. C substitute panna c square. So I again see that limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c. So it is continuous at c less than 0. If c க்கு 0 substitute panna என்ன ஆகும்? I'll have 0 here, I'll have 0 here and this is equal to this. Okay, இப்போ c greater than 0. So what is my one and only condition? f of x is equal to x. So f of c is going to be c. So when I substitute the limit x tends to c of f of x, which is limit x tends to c of x. When I substitute the value of c, I'll have c. When the value of c is 0, I'll have 0. 0 substitute பண்ணா என்ன ஆகும்? 0 ஆயிடும். So I have limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c for all values where c is greater than 0. So it is continuous everywhere. Okay, so the given function is continuous everywhere. At 0 ஒரே value, c less than 0 ஒரே value, c greater than 0 ஒரே value. So it is continuous in the whole real plane. Okay, for all real numbers. In எழுதாம maybe you can write for all real numbers. Okay, example 14, you have to prove that a polynomial function is continuous. Okay, இது வந்து ஜெனரலா ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கணும். It comes in all your exercises and example questions. So இத வந்து ஒரு பேஸா வச்சு we'll solve the other questions. So you always have to remember that your polynomial function is continuous. Any polynomial function, x square plus x plus 1 is continuous. x2 x cube plus x plus 0 plus x square. So this is also continuous. So இந்த மாதிரி any polynomial function that you have, it is going to be continuous and we are going to prove that in this question. ஒன்னும் பெரிய proof எல்லாம் கிடையாது. So what is your first step? f of c. You have to first of all understand that your polynomial function looks like this. an to the an x to the n, an minus 1 x to the n minus 1, where an minus 1, a1, a0 la coefficients of the given x. X to the power n is the highest power, x to the power 0 is the lowest power. And you also have an is not equal to 0. அதாவது highest power oda coefficient should never be 0. இது 0 ஆகுதுன்னா what will be your highest power? This will be your highest power. Okay, so which is not true. Polynomial na you should have the highest power to be n. Okay, if f of c and wherever I have x, I'm going to substitute the value of c. So I have an c to the n plus a n minus 1 c to the n minus 1 and so on, a1 c plus a0. This is f of c. What is my next step? Limit x tends to 0 of f of x. So wherever I have x, I'm going to substitute with c. So adhe da mananum. So I'll have an c to the n plus a n minus 1 c to the n minus 1 and so on, a1 c plus a0. So inga enna theriyudhu? Limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c. So continuous. Edu continuous? Polynomial functions are continuous. Okay, always remember. Example 15, greatest integer function oda graph கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. Okay, you have to understand that this is the graph of a greatest integer function. How do you read this graph? I taught you that the circled dark shaded ones are supposed to be the included values, and wherever you have a hollow circle, it is supposed to be the excluded value. So if a greatest integer function looks like this. So this is my f of x. Now, what do I see? When the value is 0, I have the value of y axis. Now, this is the x axis, and this is my f of x. Correct? So when my value of x is equal to 0, I'll have my f of x to be 0. When I have my value of x to be 1, 1 value it is no more here, it is here, it jumps here. Correct? You see, the value jumps from here to here. When my value of x is 0, it stays here in this line. When my value of x is equal to 1, the value of f of x becomes 1. Correct? Now what happens when my value of x is somewhere here? If it is 0.9, so 0.9 my value is still going to be 0. X is equal to 0.9 na f of x is going to be 0. If similarly, value on the 2.7, if value of x is equal to 2.7 na, what is my value of f of x? It is going to be 2. Okay, so basically how do you interpret this? How do you have this in terms of a function? You have x minus some r, where r is some value which is greater than 0. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல r ஓட value என்ன? இப்போ x ஓட value வந்து 3 னு வெச்சுக்கோ. You have 3 minus 0.3 which is going to be 2.7. So this is how you are going to interpret. So when you have some value minus r, then you will have x minus 1 to be your f of x. So இதுதான் f of x. இது f of x column, இது x column. Correct? இது function, இது அதோட value. So when you have x minus r, the value of f of x is going to be x minus 1. If 2.7 irukna, what is my x? It is 3. And what is my value here? 2.7. So when I have 2.7, this is 2.7 greatest integer function. According to this, x minus r is x minus 1. Appa x minus 1 enna? 3 minus 1, which is 2. So இந்த இடத்துல 3 இருக்கு, இந்த இடத்துல 2 இருக்கு. So you see 2.7 is equal to 2. When x is equal to 2.7, the value of f of x is equal to 2. So you have to remember these two functions when it comes to greatest integer function. இப்போ இதே x plus r னு இருந்ததுனா என்ன அர்த்தம்? When I take my value of x to be 2. So when I have 2 plus 0.7, this is equal to the greatest integer function of 2.7. And according to this function, this should simply be equal to 2. Correct? Appo 2.7 na it is equal to 2. Okay, it is very very simple. X minus r na x minus 1. X plus r na x itself. Where r is some value which is greater than 0. Okay, it is very very simple. These are some examples. So when you have 2, this is my value of x, this is my value of r. So this x, this r. I have 2 minus 0.1. This is going to be minus na x minus 1. Appo x oda value enna? 2 minus 1. So this is 1.9 equal to 1. If a greatest integer function 1.9 and when my value of x is equal to 1.9, it is somewhere here. 1.9 now what is my value? 1. You see it is over here. So it is equal to 1. So it is correct. Similarly, when my value of x is 2 and r oda value 0.1, but there is a plus. Inge minus irukku, inge plus irukku. So when I have a plus, what does my GIF become? Greatest integer function enna agum? 2 plus 0.1 is 2.1, and according to the condition, it is going to be the value of x itself. Appo 2.1 enga irukku? Inge irukku. So 2.1 oda value enna? It is going to be 2. Correct? You see the graph is over here. At 2, it is no more 1. In the this is not a dotted, this is not a shaded one, this is a hollow circle. Okay, but this is the greatest integer function or a graph. At 1, it is going to jump. At 2, it is going to jump. At 3, it is going to jump. Okay, at 3, 3 oda value irukadu. It will jump to the next level. Adhe maadha it applies to the negative numbers. So at 1, minus 1, it will be there. Minus 1.1, it is going to jump. Minus 2, the value will be there. Minus 2 point something, it is going to jump. In the இடத்துல எப்படி 1 liye jump ஆகுதோ, இங்க after minus, for the negative numbers, it is going to jump from minus 1.1. Okay, 1.1, 2.1, 3.1. அங்க தான் the value is going to jump to the next line. Okay, please remember this. இப்போ இதை எப்படி prove பண்ண போறோம்? So I know that my greatest integer function is this function. F of x is this. அப்போ f of c என்ன ஆகும்? It is going to be simply this. And what happens to limit x tends to c of f of x? This is going to be limit x tends to c of x. When I substitute the value of c, I'll have c. So you see that this value and this value is equal. So this is case 1. Case 1, this is a simple case. What is case 2? These two. So when I have f of c is f of x is equal to x minus r, I'll have f of c is equal to c minus r, which is going to be c minus 1. அதே மாதிரி limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of x minus r. When I substitute the value of c, I'll have c minus r. Limit x tends to c of c minus r, and it is again going to be c minus 1. So you see that these two values are equal. அதே மாதிரி what happens to my next function? This is case 1. This is case 2. Case 3 எப்படி இருக்க போகுது? For positive values. So x plus r இருக்க போகுது. So my f of x is going to be x plus r. So my f of c is going to be c plus r. Now limit x tends to c of f of x, which is x plus r, is going to be simply c plus r. C plus r என்ன பார்த்தோம்? It is simply going to be c. Correct? So this is also going to be simply c. C plus r, it is going to be simply c. So you see that these two are also equal. So it is continuous everywhere. Okay? You have to understand that. This is the greatest integer function. This is how you prove it. This is the basic condition. This is when the values are less than x. This is when the values are greater than x. So if a case 2 I can maybe write x values less than x. So I can maybe write when f of x is less than x and when f of x is greater than x. Okay? So in the mari vena edhuvam. When your values are less than x and when your values are greater than x. Okay? Now your theorem 1 says f is continuous, g is continuous. Now if f is continuous and g is continuous, then the sum of the two functions is also going to be continuous. The difference is going to be continuous. Product continuous, division continuous. But division is continuous under one condition. In a condition, the denominator should not be a 0. Okay, நம்ம not defined cases தான் பார்க்க போறோம். You have to know that 1 by 0 is equal to infinity. But அதை நம்ம இங்க யூஸ் பண்ண போறது கிடையாது. You have to know that the denominator should never be 0. இல்லாட்டி இது not defined ஆயிடும். இப்போ example 16 ல என்ன இருக்கு? You have to prove that a rational function. Rational na it will have a numerator and a denominator where your denominator is not equal to 0. You have to prove that a rational function is continuous. இப்போ numerator ல என்ன இருக்கு? p of x. So p of x is going to be a polynomial. இப்போ example 14 ல என்ன பார்த்தோம்? Example 14 ல we saw that a polynomial function is continuous. இப்போ p of x is also a polynomial and q of x is also a polynomial. So when you have two continuous functions in the numerator and the denominator, அதாவது division இருந்ததுனா p is continuous, q is continuous. So p by q is also continuous provided the denominator is not 0. அவ்வளவுதான். So the rational function is also continuous. Rational functions are continuous. இவ்வளவுதான் proof. It is pretty simple. Okay? Right. Example 17, f of x is equal to sin x. இப்போ இது வந்து continuous-ஆ இல்லையான்னு prove பண்ணோம். So what is your first step? F of c. So you will have sin c. So this is my f of c. கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சு. இப்போ limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of sin x. But you have to remember that whenever we are dealing with trigonometric functions, இப்போ வந்து limit x tends to 0 of sin x divided by x ன்னு வந்ததுனா what will you have? 0 by 0, which is not defined. You learned this in your limits and derivatives chapter. I don't remember the chapter, but class 11, correct? So இத நம்ம படிச்சோம். It is not defined அப்படினு. இப்போ இந்த மாதிரி sin, cos இந்த மாதிரி functionsலாம் வரும்போது it is always better to approach them in this way. So you can take x to be x plus h. அப்போ if x tends to 0, h also tends to 0. Correct? This is true. You agree? So in the many cases, it is always better to take a small function in order to avoid this not defined cases. So இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல என்ன பண்ண போறோம்? Instead of directly taking the sin x, I am going to replace x is equal to c plus h. Condition என்ன இருக்கு? X tends to c ன்னு இருக்கு. அப்போ what will h tend to? H is nothing but x minus c. அப்போ h will tend to c minus c, which is 0. அப்போ limit எப்படி மாறும்? Limit x in the இடத்துல I'm going to change my variable now. H tends to 0. This we learnt in derivatives, correct? First principle la paathom. You have to please watch my videos. I've given the link in my description. Limits and derivatives la derivatives paarenga. First principle, please watch that. You will know why I'm doing this. So limit h tends to 0. What will happen to my function now? Sine of, wherever I have a x, it will be replaced with c plus h. It is always better to do this. Okay, இப்போ denominator la suppose x irundha kuda it will become c plus h, and now இந்த இடத்துல h க்கு 0 substitute பண்ணா I'll have sin c by sin c and limit h tends to 0. Even when I substitute, I know one thing. So limit x tends to 0 of sin x by x is equal to 1. In the identity use பண்ணிக்கலாம். Correct? Now, what happens here? My question is sin x. அப்போ sin of c plus h இருக்கு. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல formula, trigonometric formula, I'll have h tends to 0 of sin of a plus b. Sin a cos b plus cos a sin b. So I'll have sin a cos b plus cos a sin b. Now, when I substitute the value of h to be 0, I'll have sin c times cos 0 plus cos c times sin 0. Sin 0, 0, and this term will become a 0. Cos 0 is 1. I'll be left with sin c. So, what do I see? Limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c, which is equal to sin c. This direct away prove பண்ணிருக்கலாம் நீங்க கேப்பீங்க. But in this question it is pretty simple. But when you are dealing with very complicated questions, you have to know this particular method. அதனால இந்த மெத்தட் இப்பவே சொல்லி தரேன். So always whenever you have sin, cos, tan இந்த மாதிரி என்ன இருந்தாலுமே please follow this method. Okay? இப்போ moving on to example 18, you have tan x. இப்போ tan x எப்படி எழுதலாம்? f of x is equal to sin x divided by cos x. We just proved that sin x is a continuous function. Similarly, you can prove that cos x is also a continuous function. எப்படி prove பண்ண முடியும்? f of c is equal to cos c. அதே மாதிரி limit h tends to 0 of cos of c plus h. இப்படி substitute பண்ணிட்டு cos of a plus b என்ன? Cos a cos b minus sin a sin b. Correct? So I'll have cos a cos b minus sin a sin b. I'm just applying the same method. Okay? இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல h க்கு 0 போட்டா என்ன ஆகும்? I'll have cos c times cos 0 minus sin c times sin 0. இப்போ இந்த term மொத்தமா போய்டும். I'll have cos c. So I also see that cos c is also a continuous function. இப்போ numerator la continuous function, denominator la continuous function, so the division of that is also going to be continuous. So f of x is continuous as sin and cos are continuous functions, which is proved in the previous question. Continuous functions. Okay, inge prove பண்ணியாச்சு. In example 17, you have proved that sin is a continuous function. Here you have proved that cos is a continuous function. So, the theorem 1 என்ன சொல்லுது? The division of two continuous functions are going to be continuous. But in the இடத்துல denominator should not be equal to 0. Correct? Cos x should not be equal to 0. So, what is the condition for x? X should not be equal to 2n plus 1 times pi by 2. Correct? Whenever you substitute the value of n, இப்போ n க்கு வந்து 0 போட்டா I'll have pi by 2. Cos pi by 2 is 0. So that should not be there. அதே மாதிரி n க்கு 1 போட்டா I'll have 2 plus 1, 3 pi by 2. Cos 3 pi by 2 is again 0. So I should not have that. So cos x should not be equal to 0 na, x should not be equal to this particular thing. Okay? Always remember, denominator should not be equal to 0. Moving on to theorem 2, you have g is continuous at c. So g is a function which is continuous at c னு கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. h is continuous at g of c. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல this it will be very very clear when you are solving example questions. So you have to understand that if g is continuous at c and h is continuous at g of c, then the given function g of h is continuous at c. Okay, இது வந்து g of h. This is the representation. You put a hollow circle. இப்போ example நான் சொல்றேன், you will understand this theorem better. So you have f of x. I have two different functions here. I have x square, which is one function, and I have sin x, which is another function. Now what am I going to do? I'll take g of x to be sin x and h of x to be x square. I have g of x to be sin x and h of x to be x square. Now when I do g of h of x, what happens? It becomes sin of x square. G on the sin x. When I have h also, I can write this as sin of x square. What do you know? G of x is equal to sin x is continuous. We proved that in example 17. And h of x is continuous We also proved that in example 13, x square வந்து continuous. We proved that this is example 17 and this is example 13. Please go back and watch the previous video. So we have two different functions. This is a combination of two different functions, correct? So g of h of x is going to be sine of x square. In the இடத்துல x க்கு பதிலா if I substitute x square, it is going to be sine x. Instead of x, I can substitute h of x. This is nothing but g of h of x. So this we are writing it as g of h of x. So in the rendume continuous. So the combination of that g of h of x is also continuous. G of h of x is also continuous. Instead of x, I am going to put x square. Instead of x, I am going to put x square, which is h of x. So g of h of x is sin x square. So இதே மாதிரி தான் example 20. So what have we learned? How am I going to split? But g of x is going to be mod x and h of x is also going to be some mod x. Okay? இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல mod ஏ உள்ள substitute பண்ணா என்ன ஆகும்? I know that this particular function is mod x. So I'll have f of x is a combination of இந்த இடத்துல இப்போ mod இருக்கு. Correct? I see a whole mod. So that is going to be my g of x. So when I have g of 1 minus x plus mod x. So when I have g of 1 minus x plus h of x. So this is going to be mod of 1 minus x plus mod x. Correct? But g of x is my mod x. When I substitute 1 minus x plus h of x, it becomes 1 minus x plus mod x inside a modulus symbol. If g of x is continuous, we proved in example 3 and h of x is also a similar mod x function. So I have g of x is continuous, h of x is continuous. So g of h of x is also continuous. புரிஞ்சுதா? So instead of mod x, instead of this x, I am substituting this whole function where I know 1 is continuous, I know x is also continuous, h of x and mod x. So mod x is also continuous. So a function of a function which are both continuous will give me a continuous function. The combination of that is also going to give me a continuous function. Okay? It is pretty easy. You solve more exercise questions, you will understand it better. Exercise la indha mari nariya questions irukku. So I will solve that after this. Okay? Please copy. So with this we are done with examples. Let's move on to some exercise questions. Moving on to exercise 5.1, I have f of x is equal to 5x minus 3 and I have to prove that it is continuous at x is equal to minus 3, x is equal to 5 and x is equal to 0. Okay, இப்போ first case என்ன பண்ண போறேன்? When x is equal to 0, this is my first case. What is going to be my f of x? f of x அதேதான் 5x minus 3. What is my f of c? Please watch my example questions. You will understand what I am doing. Okay? f of c என்ன? 5c minus 3. Now this is my f of c. f of 0 is going to be 5 times 0 minus 3, which is simply going to be minus 3. Now this is f of c oda value. Okay, now what is my limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x is limit x tends to c of what is my f of x? 5x minus 3. And what is my value of c? It is going to be 0. Now it will be limit x tends to 0 quota. I will substitute the value directly. So I will have 5 times 0 minus 3. So this is going to be minus 3 again. So what do I have? Limit x tends to 0, sorry, c of f of x is equal to f of c. So it is continuous at x is equal to 0. So x is equal to 0 paathachu. Now x is equal to minus 3. So I have to do the same steps for x is equal to minus 3. Now in that my f of c is going to be 5x minus 3. So f of minus 3, c is nothing but x. Nama c edhukku edukrona, it is just a change of variable so that you don't confuse it with the actual question. So this is my f of c, which is 5c minus 3. So f of minus 3 is going to be 5 times minus 3 minus 3. So minus 15 minus 3, which is minus 18. When I apply the limit, what will I have? Limit x tends to c of f of x. Now c oda value enna? Minus 3. So what will I have? Limit x tends to minus 3 of f of x, which is going to be 5x minus 3. Minus 3 substitute panna, I will again have 5 times minus 3 times minus 3. This is again going to be minus 18. Correct? So now again I have f of c equals limit x tends to c of f of x. So continuous at minus 3 also. Now x is equal to 5 ku idhe steps. I will have f of c equals 5c minus 3. So f of 5 is going to be 5 times 5 minus 3 25 minus 3 is 22. So when I apply the limit, what will I have? Limit x tends to c of f of x. And what is my value of c? 5. Limit x tends to 5 of f of x, which is 5x minus 3. Limit substitute panna, I will have 5 times 5 minus 3, which is 25 minus 3, which is 22. So the given f of x is continuous at x equals 0, minus 3 and 5. All the three values it is continuous. Okay. Question number 2. F of x is equal to 2x square minus 1 at 3 இப்போ check பண்ணணும். So what is my first step? F of c is equal to 2c square minus 1. So f of 3 என்ன? 2 times 3 square minus 1, which is 2 times 9 minus 1. 9 2s are 18 minus 1 17. இப்போ f of c கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சு. What happens when I substitute the limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c oda value enna 3 of f of x, which is 2x square minus 1. When I substitute the value, it is again going to be 9 minus 1 17. So limit x tends to c of f of x equals f of c. You have to write this step for each and every question. Okay, and hence f of x is continuous at 3. Don't be lazy. Okay, ella step liyume ella questions liyume indha step எழுதணும். So now third question, a subsection f of x is equal to x minus 5. So இதுக்கு வந்து எங்கெங்கெல்லாம் continuity இருக்கு இல்லன்னு கேக்குறாங்க. So I need to find my points of continuity. So இப்போ first step என்ன? f of c, which is c minus 5. இப்போ condition என்ன? continuous ஆ இல்லையான்னு check பண்ற condition என்ன? This is the only condition. Limit x tends to c of f of x should be equal to f of c. c substitute பண்ண மாதிரி இருக்கணும். அந்த மாதிரி equal ஆ இருக்கணும். Now what happens when I do the limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is limit x tends to c of x minus 5. When I substitute the value of limit, I'll have c minus 5. So இங்க என்ன தெரியுது? Limit x tends to c of f of x equals f of c. So f of x is continuous for all real numbers. For all real numbers. Okay, very very simple. Third question, B subsection. இப்போ f of x is equal to 1 divided by x minus 5. X is not equal to 5 னு கொடுத்திருக்காங்க condition. Now you have to check the points of a discontinuity, or you have to see wherever it is continuous. இப்போ first step என்ன? f of c is going to be 1 by c minus 5, and you also know that c should not be equal to 5. 5 ஆ இருந்ததுனா you'll have the denominator to be 0, which is not defined. So this is the condition for limit. This is the condition for f of c. இப்போ limit எடுத்தா என்ன ஆகும்? Limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of 1 divided by x minus 5. When I substitute the limit, I'll have 1 divided by c minus 5, and I also know that c should not be equal to 0. In the 5 இந்த இடத்துல 5 இருந்ததுனா I have 5 minus 5, which is 0, which is not defined. So இங்க என்ன தெரியுது? I have limit x tends to c of f of x equals f of c. So f of x is continuous for all real values except in a value except except in a value 5. Okay, the value of 5 தவிர this particular function is continuous everywhere. Okay, very very easy questions இதெல்லாம் ரொம்ப ரொம்ப மொக்கையா இருக்கு. So please don't make mistakes in this. Okay, I am repeating each and every question because you have to know how to solve each and every question. நீங்க doubt கேட்க கூடாது இல்லையா? அதனால I am solving everything. You also solve everything. சும்மா ஒரே மாதிரி தானே இருக்கு அப்படி போடாம விட்டுறாதீங்க. Okay, so this is B, please copy. இப்போ C subsection. So அதே தான் பண்ணணும். What is my f of c? f of c is c square minus 25 divided by c plus 5. இதை further simplify பண்ண முடியுமா? If you have 15 divided by 3, அப்படியே விட்டுருவீங்களா? You will write this as 5, right? So simplify whatever is given. You have a square minus b square, which is a plus b into a minus b. So c plus 5, c minus 5. இந்த இடத்துல c plus 5 and the c plus 5 will get cancelled. I'll be left with c minus 5. So this is my f of c. இப்போ limit எடுக்கலாமா? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is limit x tends to c of x square minus 25 divided by x plus 5. So I can further simplify this. So x tends to c of again x plus 5 into x minus 5 divided by x plus 5. இந்த இடத்துல x not equal to minus 5 கொடுத்துட்டோம். minus 5 இருந்ததுனா this would have become a 0 in the denominator. So we are going to cancel the term that is causing the 0. So I have limit x tends to c of x minus 5. Now when I substitute, I'll have c minus 5. So this is equal to this. So I have limit x tends to c of f of x equals f of c, which means f of x is continuous for all real numbers except 5, except x is equal to minus 5. Okay. So f of x is equal to mod of x minus 5. இப்போ இந்த function எப்படி எழுதலாம்? If x is greater than or equal to 5 அப்படி இருந்ததுனா, if the value is greater than or equal to 5. So for example, you have a number line. இப்போ mod x இருந்ததுனா என்ன பண்ணுவோம்? x minus 0. கரெக்ட்டா? It means x minus 0. அப்ப 0 க்கு மேல இருந்ததுனா you'll have x, 0 க்கு கீழ இருந்ததுனா you'll have minus x. So similarly for this, wherever this is your value of 5, wherever your value is greater than 5, greater than or equal to 5, the value is simply going to be the given value itself. இப்போ less than na என்ன ஆகும்? It becomes the minus of this. இப்போ less than na என்ன ஆகும்? It becomes the minus of this. So minus of x minus 5, which will be 5 minus x. So this is for x less than 5. Okay. So two conditions. I just rewrote the question. இப்போ என்னென்னலாம் condition check பண்ணனும்? எங்க continuous னு கேக்குறாங்க. So I have to check for c equal to 5, c less than 5, c greater than 5. இந்த எல்லா இடத்துலயும் check பண்ணனும். இப்போ c equal to 5 na, what is my f of c? Equal to c, I'll have c minus 5. So what happens when the value of c is put 5 minus 5, which is 0. இப்போ limit. So when I choose the limit, I see that I have two different conditions, correct? Then I have to see what happens to my left hand limit and the right hand limit. அது ரெண்டுமே equal ஆன்னு check பண்ணனும். So இப்போ left hand limit, x tends to, what is my c value? 5 minus. So this is my left hand limit, and what is my condition? 5 minus x. So f of x, which is limit x tends to 5 minus of 5 minus x. When I substitute the value, I'll have 5 minus 5, which is 0. This is left hand limit, LHL. What happens to my right hand limit? Limit edutha, limit x tends to 5 plus, what is my f of x in this case? X minus 5, correct? So it will be f of x, which is limit x tends to 5 plus of x minus 5, which is again going to be 5 minus 5, which is 0. 5 minus 5, which is 0. So what do you see? The limits are all equal to f of c. So I have limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c. So continuous. So c equal to 5 la it is continuous. If c less than 5 la paakalama. So what is my f of c? C less than 5, I'm going to take this condition. So I'll have 5 minus c. So this is my f of c. Ipo limit edukalama. Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is limit x tends to c of f of x, and for c less than 5, I'll have 5 minus x. When I substitute the value of c, I'll have 5 minus c. So I see that this value is equal to this value, so it is continuous, correct? So I see that these two are equal, so it is going to be continuous. So the function is continuous for all values where c is less than 5. Now c greater than 5 condition paakalama. C greater than 5, now what will be my f of c? F of c is going to be x minus 5. When I take the limit, I'll have x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of x minus 5. When I substitute the limit, I'll have c minus 5. So limit x tends to 0 of f of x equals f of c. So continuous. So the given function is continuous everywhere in the whole real domain, okay, for all real numbers. Question number 4, f of x is equal to x to the n. இப்போ இது வந்து n ல continuous ஆன்னு கேக்குறாங்க. When x is equal to n. So what is my f of c? It is going to be c to the n. What is my value of c? n. So it is going to be n to the n. So this is my f of c கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சு. இப்போ limit x tends to c of f of x, which is limit x tends to c of f of x enna? X to the n. I'm going to substitute the value of c. C oda value enna? n. So I'm going to have n to the n. So what do I have? Limit x tends to c of f of x is f of c. So hence it is continuous. Okay, pretty straightforward. Romba easy. Now moving on to my fifth question. For fifth question la enna kuduthirukku? I have f of x with two different conditions. I have to prove the continuity at x is equal to 0, 1, 2. இப்போ ஒண்ணா பண்ணலாமா? For x is equal to 0, what will happen? I'll have f of x is equal to x mattumna. F of x is equal to x. This is the only condition, one and only condition that I have when x is equal to 0. Idu vandu x is greater than 1, so it is beyond 0. So this is my only condition. So I'll have f of c equals c. So idu f of c. Ipo limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of x. Ipo value substitute panna I'll have c. So it is continuous at 0, at x is equal to 0. Ipo adhe mari x is equal to 2 pannalama. So I'll have x is equal to 2. So what is my one and only condition? 5. So I have f of x is equal to 5. So f of c is also going to be 5. There is no x, correct? But this is also 5. What will be my limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of 5. F of x and 5. And this is also going to be 5. So you see that both the values are equal. So limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c, which means it is continuous. If x is equal to 1 பார்க்கலாமா? X is equal to 1 ஏன் நான் லாஸ்ட்ல பண்றேன்? Because I have two different conditions. I have to find the left hand limit and the right hand limit. It is not very complicated. It is only a little longer than this. Okay, if x is equal to 1 illa, I'll have f of c to be equal to 1 la enna condition irukku? I have x, so it is going to be c. What is my f of x? It is going to be x. So c substitute panna I'll have f of c to be c. What is my value of c? F of 1 is going to be 1. Okay, ipo left hand limit. Left hand limit enna theriyum? Limit x tends to 1 minus of f of x. 1 minus na less than. So I'll have limit x tends to 1 minus of x, which is going to be, when I substitute the value, I'll have 1. So this is my left hand limit. Right hand limit enago? Limit x tends to 1 plus, what is the value that is greater than 1? It is 5, correct? So I'll have limit x tends to 1 plus, which is limit the value of 5. In the earthla I don't have any variable that is dependent on the x, correct? Appo 5 can come out and I'll have this. You see that the left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. Abdina anartham it is not continuous at 1. So f of x is not continuous at x is equal to 1. Okay. Sixth question, f of x is equal to, in the particular I have two different conditions and two different functions. So what are the different cases that I have to see? C less than 2, c greater than 2 and c equal to 2. Sorry, what is my c here? 2. I have the values to be 2, correct? If c less than 2 la, what is my one and only condition? C less than 2 na, it is going to be 2x plus 3. Appa f of c is going to be 2c plus 3. So this is my f of c. Ipo c ku vandu 2 substitute panna enna agum? I'll have f of 2 to be 2 times 2 plus 3. 2 2s are 4, 4 plus 3 7. So this is my f of c. Ipo limit x tends to c of f of x, where my value of c is 2, correct? So x tends to 2 of f of x and 2x plus 3. When I substitute the value, I'll have 2 times 2 plus 3, which is again 7. So f of x is continuous at all values where c is less than 2. If c greater than 2 f of x, and what is my one and only condition? 2x minus 3. So 2x minus 3. So f of c enago? 2c minus 3. So now when I substitute the value of 2, I'll have 2 times 2 minus 3. 4 minus 3 and 1. So this is my f of 2. If a limit and limit x tends to c of f of x, which is limit x tends to c of the value 2, f of x and 2x minus 3. When I directly substitute, I'll have 2 times 2 minus 3, which is 1. So continuous. This is equal, correct? So continuous for all values where c is greater than 2. If c equal to 2, I have two different conditions. So I need to prove the left hand limit and the right hand limit. I'll write it here. So c equal to 2. So what is my f of c going to be? Equal to 2 la 2x plus 3. So 2c plus 3, and at 2 it will be 2 times 2 plus 3, which is 7. So f of c kandupidichachu. Ipo left hand limit. Left hand limit x tends to 2 minus abdina 2x plus 3. So I'll have 2x plus 3. When I substitute the value, I'll have 7. Right hand limit x tends to 2 plus 2 plus na, the value is going to be 2x minus 3. So 2x minus 3, which is going to be 2 times 2 value substitute panna 2 times 2 4 minus 2 which is 4 minus 3 which is 1. So I see that left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. So not continuous at x is equal to 2. Okay. So it is continuous everywhere except 2. 2 தவிர எல்லா இடத்துலயும் continuous ஆ இருக்கு. Okay. So they've asked what is the point of discontinuity. அப்ப discontinuity என்ன? 2 is the point of discontinuity. It is not continuous at 2 இல்லையா? So this is the point of discontinuity. Okay. So this is my 7th question. I see that I have two values for c. Correct? இப்போ என்னென்னலாம் condition இருக்க போகுது? c less than minus 3. This is one condition. c is equal to minus 3. This is another condition. Then c is greater than minus 3. If c greater than minus 3, na, this will automatically include this particular condition also. அப்ப இது ரெண்டுத்தையும் 2 in 1 பண்ணிடலாமா? So I'll have minus 3 less than c less than 3. So in the condition, what is my next condition? It has to be equal to 3. அப்ப c equals 3. Then what is my other condition? C greater than 3. So I have to solve for 5 different cases. Okay. So these are my different cases. இந்த மாதிரி split பண்ணிக்கோங்க. இப்போ first case c less than minus 3. Less than minus 3 ல f of x என்ன? It is going to be mod x plus 3. So this is my f of x which is mod x plus 3. Less than minus 3 na mod x என்ன value எடுக்கும்? It will take the value of minus 3. So this is going to be f of x is minus x plus 3. Mod x is going to take all the negative values, so it will be minus x. So if f of c and it is going to be minus c plus 3. Correct? Now what is my limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is limit x tends to c of minus x plus 3. When I substitute the limit, I'll have minus c plus 3. You see that f of c is equal to the limit. So it is continuous. First case continuous nu prove பண்ணியாச்சு. Correct? Now c is equal to minus 3. This is my second case. Equal to na appo enna condition? It is going to be f of x which is mod x plus 3. Equal to minus 3 na mod x will take all the values which are negative. So I'll have f of x is equal to minus x plus 3. Mod x is taking the negative value. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல c ஓட value என்ன? It is exactly minus 3. So I'll have f of minus 3 is going to be, the value itself is minus 3. So minus of minus 3 is going to be plus 3. So it is going to be 6. 3 plus 3 is 6. இப்போ f of c கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சு. What happens to my limit? I have to prove at minus 3. Correct? அப்போ I need to take my left hand limit and the right hand limit. So x tends to, இப்போ left hand limit என்ன ஆகும்? It will be minus 3 minus. Minus 3 is the value and this minus is for the left hand limit of f of x. So minus 3 கீழ இருக்கிறதுனா என்னது? It is going to be minus x plus 3. So it is going to be minus x plus 3. When I substitute the value, I'll have minus of minus 3. So minus of minus 3 which is going to be plus 3. Okay, I'll write it here. I'll have minus of minus 3 plus 3 which is 3 plus 3, 6. இது வந்து left hand limit. Now what is going to be my right hand limit? X tends to minus 3 plus, அப்போ greater than minus 3 என்ன condition இருக்கு? I have minus 2x. So this is going to be my f of x. When I substitute the limit, what will I have? Minus 2 times minus 3 which is going to be 6 again. So I have left hand limit equal to right hand limit equal to f of c. So I see that this is continuous. Okay. The step எழுதுங்க. Always write. Don't directly write continuous. Please write left hand limit is equal to the right hand limit which is also equal to f of c. So at c equal to minus 3 it is continuous. இப்போ minus 3 less than c less than 3 is my other condition. So what is my f of x here? It is going to be minus 2x. அப்போ f of c என்ன? Minus 2c. So this is my f of c. Okay. Now what happens to the limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x which is limit x tends to c of minus 2x. இப்போ c substitute பண்ணா I'll have minus 2c. So I see that limit x tends to c of f of x equals f of c. So it is continuous. In the step தான் எழுதணும். Okay. You have to write this step for each and every question. Okay. Don't miss out. Don't be lazy. இப்போ c equal to 3. So இதே மாதிரி left hand limit right hand limit பண்ணோம். Equal to 3 ல என்ன function? My function is f of x is equal to 6x plus 2. So f of c is going to be 6c plus 2. And when the value of c is 3, I'll have 6 times 3 plus 2. 6 3s are 18, 19, 20. So this is my f of c. Now left hand limit, right hand limit. So I have limit x tends to 3 minus. 3 minus na, I'll have the values which are less than 3. Appa in the condition edukano, correct? So I'll have minus 2x. When I substitute the value, what will I have? Minus 2 into 3 which is minus 6. Inge rendume equal illa. So inge prove pannalam, but you also have to write your right hand limit. So limit x tends to 3 plus 3 plus na enna varum 6x plus 2. 6x plus 2. When I substitute the value of 3, I'll have 6 times 3 plus 2, 6 3s are 18, 19, 20. So I see that f of c is equal to the right hand limit, but left hand limit ki equal illa. So left hand limit not equal to right hand limit. So not continuous. What is my final case? C greater than 3. C greater than 3 can know. What is my condition? One and only condition. 6x plus 2. So f of x is equal to 6x plus 2. So f of c is going to be 6c plus 2. So this is my f of c. But limit limit x tends to c of f of x, which is limit x tends to c of f of x and 6x plus 2. When I substitute the limit 6c plus 2. So what do I see? Limit x tends to c. The value equal of f of x is going to be f of c. So continuous. But question what is the point of discontinuity? So 3 la mattumna it is not continuous. Everywhere else it is continuous. You see? So 3 is the point of discontinuity. That is how you write your final answer. Okay? So moving on to exercise 5.1 question number 8. Inime no more markers, okay, only in the whiteboard da. So do let me know if you have any suggestions, if you have any problem understanding the question, do let me know in the comment section below, okay. So let's move on to question number 8, okay. So first let us see what the question says. So you have find all the points of discontinuity of f where f is defined by f of x equals mod x divided by x. So in the option I'll zoom in for you. Okay, so this is your first page. So first, what is our first step? So first we'll rewrite the function. So I have f of x is equal to mod x divided by x. I'm going to split this in terms of wherever x is less than 0, where x is equal to 0 and where x is greater than 0. Less than 0 we have mod x to be equal to plus x when x is greater than 0 and minus x when x is less than 0. Correct? In the two cases for mod x. So what am I going to do? For the first case, it is going to be mod x x less than 0 it is going to be minus x divided by x, which is going to be minus 1. So this is the case when x is less than 0. X is equal to 0, it is given that it is 0. X is greater than 0 it is going to take the value of plus x. Correct? So this is going to be 1. So basically what is the idea? The idea is mod x is going to be minus x when x is less than 0 and plus x when x is greater than 0. So இதை யூஸ் பண்ணி தான் நம்ம இந்த இடத்துல இதை சால்வ் பண்றோம். Okay, you understand? So this is what we are using here and here to solve. Okay, clear? Okay, now. So what is the first condition that we are going to see? We are going to see three conditions. So c less than 0, the other is c equal to 0 and c greater than 0. இப்போ first c less than 0 பார்க்கலாம். These are the three cases that we have to see. We'll see these two later. So I have c less than 0. இப்போ c less than 0 க்கு what is my f of x? My f of x is going to take the value, what do you see? Minus x divided by x, which is minus 1. So what is my f of c? It is also minus 1. இப்போ f of c கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சு. What is my limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to what is my c value? 0 of f of x and minus 1. So in the இடத்துல there is only minus 1. There is nothing inside the limit. So I'm going to take the minus 1 outside. Limit x tends to 0 of 1 is nothing but 1. So minus 1 into 1 minus 1. So இப்போ லிமிட்டும் கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சு, f of c யும் கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சு. So I have f of c is minus 1 and the limit is also minus 1. So this is when c is less than 0. Similarly, we have to do for c greater than 0. இப்போ c greater than 0 க்கு condition என்ன? My f of x is again going to be x divided by x, which is 1. So my f of c is going to be 1. இப்போ f of c 1 na, what is my limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to 0 of f of x and 1. இப்போ 1 மட்டும் தான் இருக்கு, taking the 1 outside the limit and I have limit x tends to 0 of 1. So இப்போ 1 மட்டும் இருக்கு, so the final answer is going to be simply 1. So what do you see? இந்த இடத்துலயுமே the f of x value, f of c and the limit values are equal. You see that? Okay. Now for c equal to 0, what is the condition? I need to check my left hand limit and my right hand limit. இப்போ first f of c என்ன? What is my value? For f of c, the value is going to be 0. Now limit. So left hand limit enagum limit x tends to 0 minus of f of x. 0 minus na and x is less than 0. What is the value? Minus 1. So it is going to be limit x tends to 0 minus of minus 1 and this is going to be minus 1. What is my right hand limit? Right hand limit is going to be limit x tends to 0 plus of f of x. 0 plus na and the value when x is greater than 0. This condition. Correct? So it is going to be 1. So I have limit x tends to 0 plus of 1 which is 1. But what do you see here? In the இடத்துல, when I highlight, you see that the value here is minus 1 and the value here is 1. You see that the left hand limit and the right hand limit are not equal. Left hand limit, right hand limit equal illana en artham, the limit does not exist. So for c less than 0, the function is continuous. And for c greater than 0, the function is again continuous. But what happens at c equal to 0? It is not continuous. So enna kekranga, what is the point of discontinuity in kekranga? So what is it? X is equal to 0 is the point of discontinuity. Okay. Okay, so this is the answer. Please take a screenshot of this. Please take a screenshot. Okay, now moving on to 9th question. Screenshot eduthacha? Now, moving on to 9th question. It is a very, very similar question. So, adhe mari question enna pannalam? So, you have f of x is equal to two conditions. Ipo ingiyum mod x kuduthirukku. What is your mod x? It is going to take the value plus x when x is greater than 0 and minus x when x is less than 0. Okay, two similar conditions. How can I rewrite the question? F of x is equal to x divided by minus x, which is minus 1 when x is less than 0. Pona question mariyada. And 0 when x is equal to 0. It is not 0 in this case. It is minus 1. So, it is going to be minus 1 when x is greater than or equal to 0. Apra x is greater than 0. It is given that it is minus 1 when x is greater than 0. Okay. So, in the pona question la enna difference irundhudu? So, what was given in the previous question? In the previous question, you had x is not equal to 0 and x is equal to 0. So, two different conditions. One equal to 0, one not equal to 0. In this question, you see that it is given x is less than 0 core condition, x greater than or equal to 0 core condition kuduthirukku. So you can rewrite the question like this. It is very, very simple. Okay. Ipo idha solve panna enna agum? First at c less than 0. So c less than 0 ku what is enna agum? F of c is going to be at less than 0. The value is minus 1. So f of c is minus 1. Ipo limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of f of x and minus 1. I'm going to take minus 1 outside the limit. What am I left with? Limit x tends to c of 1. This is nothing but minus 1. So, inga enna theriyudhu? In the இடத்துல f of c is minus 1 and the limit also is minus 1. Okay. So, at c less than 0, it is continuous. Okay. Now, what happens when c is greater than 0? C greater than 0 ku f of c is going to take the value minus 1. At greater than 0, the value is minus 1. You see here? Okay. At c greater than 0, minus 1. If a limit enagum, limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of what is my f of x? It is going to be minus 1. So, in that I am going to take the minus 1 outside the limit and I will be left with limit x tends to c out a value and in the case is 0. Okay. So, basically I will substitute the value of 0 here. So, everywhere. So, in that 0, I have 1. Limit x tends to 0 of 1 is nothing but 1. So, I have minus 1 again. So, what do you see? I have f of c is minus 1 and the limit here is also minus 1. So, this is continuous when c is greater than 0. Okay, now c equal to 0 case paakalama. Similarly, like the previous question, c equal to 0 na left hand limit paakano, right hand limit paakano. You have to look for both the cases. So first, what is my f of c? F of c at x is equal to 0 enna kuduthirukku? It is going to be minus 1. So I have minus 1. Now what is the limit? X tends to 0 plus of f of x. 0 plus na x greater than 0. So this is going to be limit x tends to 0 plus of minus 1. When I take it outside the limit, I will be left with minus 1. Ipo idu vandu left hand limit, sorry, right hand limit. Now left hand limit left hand limit என்ன ஆகும்? Limit x tends to 0 minus of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to 0 minus at x is equal x less than 0 என்ன இருக்கு? X divided by minus x, which is minus 1. So again I have minus 1. Taking this outside the limit, I am left with minus 1. Super. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல என்ன condition தெரியுது? I see that f of c is minus 1 and limit right hand limit is minus 1 and the left hand limit is also minus 1. So when all the three conditions are satisfied, I have limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c, which means it is continuous. So according to the question, there is no point of discontinuity. It is continuous everywhere. Okay? Everywhere na enna artham? For all real numbers. It's continuous everywhere. Okay? This is capital R. This is how you represent real numbers. Correct? Please take a screenshot. Okay. Now moving on to question number 10. You need to find the point of discontinuity for the given function. Okay. So, இப்போ f of x கொடுத்திருக்கு. What is my first case? Okay. So, you have to look for three different conditions. Correct? When c is equal to 1, c less than 1 and c greater than 1. You have to look for three different conditions. இப்போ c equal to 1 na, you have two different conditions here. Correct? You need to check both the left hand limit and the right hand limit. So, இப்போ left hand limit enna? Let me see. So, left hand limit is going to be limit x tends to 1 minus of f of x, which is limit x tends to 1 minus na, 1 minus ke enna case? X less than 0, so it is going to be this. So it is x square plus 1. When I substitute the value of 1, what happens? It becomes 1 square plus 1. 1 square enna? 1. 1 plus 1, which is 2. So this is my left hand limit. What happens to my right hand limit? Limit x tends to 1 plus of f of x, which is limit x tends to 1 plus ke enna condition? You see it is x plus 1. So, இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல what do I have? X plus 1. When I substitute the value of 1, I have 1 plus 1, which is also 2. So, I forgot to check what my f of c is. F of c enna? First, f of x is going to be x plus 1. So, my f of c is going to be c plus 1. இப்போ c oda value enna? 1. When I substitute the value of 1, I have 1 plus 1, which is 2. So, what do you see? All the values are equal. Ingiyum 2, ingiyum 2, ingiyum 2. So, I see that it is continuous at 1. Correct? So, continuous at x equals 1. Now, I need to check for c less than 1 and c greater than 1. So, இப்போ c less than 1 enna condition? C less than 1, I have x square plus 1. So, what is my f of c? C square plus 1. And I have limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of f of x and f of x oda value is going to be x square plus 1. So, I have x square plus 1. When I substitute the value of c, I'll have c square plus 1. So, here what do I see? The value here is also c square plus 1. The value here is also c square plus 1. So, it is continuous at c less than 1. So, continuous. இப்போ c greater than 1 again the condition? I have f of c is again x plus 1. This is my f of x. So, f of c is going to be c plus 1. And what is my limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of x plus 1, which is going to be c substitute panna, I'll have c plus 1. Correct? C plus 1 irundhuduna, what do I see here? I see that here it is c plus 1 and here also it is c plus 1. So, it is continuous at c greater than 1. Inge continuous at c less than 1. So, the given function is continuous everywhere. Continuous for all real numbers. Okay? Please take a screenshot. Okay, so moving on to question number 11 இப்போ. So, இப்போ இந்த questionல first என்ன case? At c equal to 2. இது first case. அப்போ நம்ம என்ன பார்க்க போறோம்? Left hand limit and right hand limit. ரெண்டுமே வேணும். Okay, so what is my f of x? F of x is going to be, what do you see here? X cube minus 3. Correct? So, it is going to be x cube minus 3. அப்போ f of c is going to be c cube minus 3. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல c ஓட value என்ன? 2. So, when I substitute the value of 2, what will I have? 2 cube minus 3. 2 cube enna 8. So, 8 minus 3, which is going to be 5. So, this is f of c. So what is my left hand limit? Left hand limit is limit x tends to c minus of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c minus na 2 minus 2 minus na less than case என்ன இருக்கு x cube minus 3. So when I substitute the value, I'll have 2 cube minus 3, which is 8 minus 3 5. இது left hand limit. இப்போ right hand limit என்ன ஆகும்? Limit x tends to c plus of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to 2 plus 2 plus க்கு என்ன condition இருக்கு? இந்த இடத்துல x greater than 2 na, it is going to be x square plus 1. So x square plus 1, which is going to be 2 square plus 1, which is going to be 2 square and 4. So 4 plus 1, which is 5. So இந்த இடத்துல என்ன தெரியுது? f of c ஓட value is 5. The left hand limit is 5 and the right hand limit is also 5. So you see that it is continuous. f of x is continuous at c is equal to 2. அப்படினா x is equal to 2 ல continuous. இப்போ நம்ம என்ன பார்க்க போறோம்? At c less than 2 case பார்க்க போறோம். So c less than 2 ல f of c ஓட value என்ன? It is going to be x cube minus 3, highlighted in gray. கரெக்ட்டா? So x cube minus 3 னு இருக்கு. This is my f of x. அப்ப f of c is going to be c cube minus 3. Similarly, limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of f of x oda value enna? C less than 2 it is going to be x cube minus 3. C substitute panna I'll have c cube minus 3. So இந்த இடத்துல என்ன தெரியுது? x cube minus 3 and c cube minus 3 are equal. So at c less than 2 it is continuous. C less than 2 the function is continuous. இப்போ c greater than 2 க்கு அதே மாதிரி. So what is my f of x? It is going to be x square plus 1. அப்ப f of c is going to be c square plus 1. இப்போ limit எழுதுனா limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of f of x oda value enna? X square plus 1. When I substitute the value of c, I'll have c square plus 1. So இந்த இடத்துல என்ன தெரியுது? When I highlight, I have c square plus 1 here and c square plus 1 here. So it is continuous at c greater than 2. So the given function f of x is continuous for every real number. எல்லா இடத்துலயுமே it is continuous. Okay? So please copy, please take a screenshot. Moving on to question number 12. இப்போ this is also very similar to the previous question. இதுல எல்லா most of the questions are very similar. Okay? ரொம்ப easy. So இப்போ first case என்ன? c equal to 1. அப்ப நான் left hand லிமிட்டும் பார்க்கணும், right hand லிமிட்டும் பார்க்கணும். So first left hand limit. What is my left hand limit? Limit x tends to c oda value 1 na, it is going to be 1 minus of f of x, and this is going to be limit x tends to 1 minus na in the value, it is going to be x to the power 10 minus 1. So it is going to be x to the power 10 minus 1, and I substitute the value of 1 to x, I'll have 1 to the 10 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So this is my left hand limit. இப்போ right hand limit enna? Limit x tends to 1 plus of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to 1 plus. இப்போ 1 plus na value enna? It is going to be x square, which is when I substitute the value of 1, I'll have 1 square, which is 1. Okay? So in the இடத்துல left hand limit and the right hand limit, they are not equal. You see here I get a 0, here I get a 1. So I see that it is not equal. So left hand limit, right hand limit equal illa, but you are supposed to find your f of c. What is my f of c? It is x to the 10 minus 1. This is my f of x. அப்ப f of c என்ன ஆகும்? c to the 10 minus 1. And what is my value of c? f of 1 is going to be 1 to the 10 minus 1, 1 minus 1, which is 0. So you see that this value and this value, they are equal, but the left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. Left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. So it is not continuous at x equal to 1. So at x is equal to 1, not continuous. You have to look for cases where c is greater than 1 and c is less than 1. Adha marandradakudadu. Okay? So I have f of x when c is greater than 1 na, it is highlighted in light pink, which is x square. So what is my f of c going to be? C square. Ipo idu f of c. Now limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of x square. When I substitute the value of c, I'll have c square. So what do I see? In the இடத்துல the value c square, the value here is also c square. So the limit and the f of x, they are equal. எப்படி எழுதணும் final answer? Limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c. So the given function is continuous at c greater than 1. Correct? இப்போ c less than 1 case பார்க்கணும். So what is my f of x for less than 1? It is going to be x to the 10 minus 1. So f of c is going to be c to the 10 minus 1. What happens to the limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of x to the 10 minus 1. When I substitute the value of c, I'll have c to the 10 minus 1. So in the இடத்துல highlight பண்ண என்னாகும் c to the 10, sorry, c to the 10 minus 1 and c to the 10 minus 1. So they are equal. So it is continuous at c less than 1. So c less than 1, no, it is continuous. C greater than 1 also, it is continuous. So what is the only point of discontinuity? X is equal to 1 is the point of discontinuity, which is asked in the question. Okay, please copy. Moving on to question number 12. Again, a very similar question. So in that, what is my first case? C is equal to 1. Appo what is my f of x? F of x is going to be x plus 5. So f of c is going to be c plus 5. Ipo left hand limit x tends to c oda value enna 1. So 1 minus of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to 1 minus of f of x oda value enna left hand limit na, it is going to be x plus 5. Correct? So it is x plus 5. When I substitute the value of 1, I'll have 1 plus 5, which is 6. Left hand limit is 6. What is my right hand limit? Limit x tends to 1 plus of f of x. 1 plus na and the value, it is going to take x minus 5. The value marked in gray. Correct? So f of x na limit x tends to 1 plus of x minus 5. When I substitute the value of 1, I'll have 1 minus 5, which is minus 4. Super. The values don't match. Here I have a 6. Here I have a 4. And what is the value of f of c? In the இடத்துல c plus 5 in irukku. But what is the value of c? So I'll have f of 1, which is 1 plus 5, which is 6. So the left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. So not continuous at x is equal to 1. X is equal to 1 la not continuous. So let me do it here. C less than 1. So what is the case? C less than 1 na x plus 5. So my f of x is going to be x plus 5. Appo f of c enna? C plus 5. What is my limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is limit x tends to c of f of x oda value enna? X plus 5. When I substitute the limit, I'll have c plus 5. So I see that the value here is c plus 5 and the value here is also c plus 5. So it is continuous at c less than 1. C greater than 1 ko ide mari. F of x is equal to, what is for greater than 1? X minus 5. So I have x minus 5. So f of c is c minus 5. So what is the limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is limit x tends to c of f of x and x minus 5. When I substitute the value, I have c minus 5. So I see that the value is again equal. C minus 5 and c minus 5. So in that line, it is continuous at c greater than 1. So what is the point of discontinuity? X is equal to 1 is the point of discontinuity. Okay. Please copy. Okay. Now, question number 14. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல என்னென்ன கேசஸ்லாம் நம்ம பார்க்கணும்? You have to check for c equal to 0, 0 less than or equal to c less than or equal to 1. இந்த இடத்துல equal to வராது. Less than or equal to 1 வராது. Then I have to look for c equal to 1 case. Then c equal to 3 case. Then 1 less than c less than 3 case. Then I also have to check for 3 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 10 case. இந்த இடத்துலயும் equal to வராது. Because you have already accounted for c equal to 3. Correct? So, இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல I have c equal to 0 and I have my equal to 0 included here also. Correct? So, when it is already included here, I can omit this particular condition because I do not have two different conditions. இந்த இடத்துல c greater than 0 இருக்கு. What is my condition for c less than 0 here? I do not have any condition. So, I can directly apply. இந்த இடத்துல c equal to 1 க்கு I have two conditions. I have c less than 1 and I have c greater than 1. I have two different conditions. So I have to check for left hand limit and the right hand limit. But for 0, when it comes to 0, I don't have to check for left hand limit and the right hand limit for c equal to 0 case. ஏன்னா இந்த இடத்துல I only have c greater than or equal to 0 condition and no less than condition. Correct? Now, what are my given conditions? Let me rewrite again. So what are the conditions I need to check for? First case, I need to check for 0 less than or equal to c less than 1. Next is c equal to 1 case. Then 1 less than c less than 3. Then c equal to 3. Then I have 3 less than x less than or equal to 10. Similar case for 10. 10 lime I do not have any condition where x is greater than 10. Adnala left hand limit, right hand limit rendume panna vendam. Okay, very clear? Okay, now I have 5 cases to solve. So let me solve case 1 where 0 less than or equal to c less than 1. Now first, what is my f of x? F of x is going to be this particular case, first case, correct? So it is going to be 3. So my f of c is also going to be 3. Pretty straightforward. Now limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of, what is my f of x? 3. In the இடத்துல whatever my value of c, doesn't matter, the 3 is going to come out of the limit, correct? So what is my value here? F of c is 3 and the limit is also 3. So it is continuous for the first case. So it is continuous in the given range. Next, case 2. What is my case 2? C equal to 1. அப்படினா என்ன பார்க்கணும்? I need to look for left hand limit and right hand limit. இப்போ first f of c எழுதுவோமா? What is my f of c at 1? What do I see? It is 3. Okay, it is the same case as the previous one. So f of c கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சு. இப்போ limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to 1 of 3. When I take 3 outside the limit, I'll have 3. Limit kulla enna irukku? I have the value of 1. Correct? So I can simply write this as 3. So again I see that the value here is 3 and the value here is 3, but don't forget the left hand limit and the right hand limit. So this is going to be my left hand limit, correct? It is going to be less than 1. So idu vandu left hand limit. What is my right hand limit? This is minus 1 minus. Ipo right hand limit, x tends to c plus of f of x, which is limit x tends to 1 plus. 1 plus na 1 vida greater enga irukku? The value is 4. You see, I highlighted in the question. So I have 4. So I'll write 4. So 4. So this is my right hand limit. Though f of c and left hand limit are equal, in the இடத்துல right hand limit enna irukku? It is 4. So it is not equal. So it is not continuous, as left hand limit is not equal to right hand limit. Enga not continuous? At 1. X is equal to 1 la it is not continuous. Okay. What is my third case now? Third case, 1 less than c less than 3. Now in the case, what is my f of c? My f of c from the question, it is going to be 4. So this is my f of c. Now limit enna agapodhu? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of 4. What is my f of x? 4. When I take 4 outside the limit, I'll be left with 4. So in the இடத்துல என்ன தெரியுது? I have 4 equal to 4. So it is continuous. Okay, now my fourth case. What is my fourth case? Case 4, c equal to 3. இது முடிஞ்சது. This is done. This is done. Now I'm looking for this. C equal to 3. அப்படினா என்ன அர்த்தம்? I need to look for both left hand limit and the right hand limit. Okay, so c less than 3 க்கு in the case, c greater than 3 க்கு I'm going to use this particular case. So first of all, what is my f of x? F of x na at 3, it is going to be this value, the value marked in pink. So I have f of x is going to be 5. So my f of c is also going to be 5. இப்போ limit x tends to 3 minus, this is my left hand limit of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to 3 minus left hand limit na enna value? Less than 3. So it is going to be 4. You see here the value marked in gray. So I have 4. When I take 4 outside the limit, I'll be left with 4. So this is my left hand limit. What is my right hand limit? Limit x tends to 3 plus of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to 3 plus of, what is my 3 plus na greater than the value marked in pink. So I have 5. So 5, this is my right hand limit. So it is pretty clear that the left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. I'll mark it for you. So the left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. So not continuous at 3. So 3 liyo not continuous. So this case is done. What is my case 5? It is going to be 3 less than c less than or equal to 10. Equal to 10 idliye nama combine panna porom. So what is my f of c now? F of c is going to be 3 less than x less than 10 na it is going to be 5. Now limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of 5, which is going to be 5 வெளியில எடுத்தா I'll have 5. So I have 5 equals 5. Okay, so this is continuous at x is equal to, sorry, it is continuous for the given range. இந்த இடத்துல x க்குலாம் எதுவும் கிடையாது. So it is continuous. So what is my point of discontinuity? It is not continuous at 3 and it is not continuous at 1. So 1, 3 are the points of discontinuity. Okay, pretty simple. Please copy. Okay, question number 15 now. Question number 15 liye adhe mari I need different cases. What are my different cases? First, x less than 0 irukku, x greater than 0 irukku. So I have to check for x is equal to 0. This is my first case. What is my second case? 0 less than x less than 1. Then I have 1 x less than or equal to 1 and x greater than 1. So I also have to check for x is equal to 1 and I have to check for x greater than 1. Okay, so these are the 4 different cases that I have to look for. Why am I taking x equal to 0 and x is equal to 1? And I see that I have both left hand limit and the right hand limit. No single value. Correct? So I'll remove this tick for now. Once I solve every case, I'll erase it. Okay? Now, I have first case, case 1. X is equal to 0. அப்படினா என்ன அர்த்தம்? Left hand limit and right hand limit ரெண்டுமே பார்க்கணும். X is equal to 0 ல first f of x என்ன? At x is equal to 0, what is my case? It is 0. So I have 0. So f of c is also going to be 0. What is my left hand limit? Left hand limit is going to be x less than 0. It is going to be 2x. So I have 2x and I substitute the value of 0. I'll have 2 times 0, which is going to be 0. And what is my right hand limit? Limit x tends to 0 plus. 0 plus na x greater than 0. In that it is going to be 0. When I take 0 outside the limit, I'll have 0. So what do I see? The value here is a 0, here is a 0 and here also it is a 0. Okay, so it is continuous. Continuous at 0. So 0 on the point of discontinuity kadayadu. Okay, what is my second case? I have 0 less than x less than 1. So this is done. We are looking for the second case now. I'll mark it in red. So this is done. Okay, so here you can either write this as x is equal to 0 or c is also equal to 0. So these are two similar things. Okay, they are not very very different. Adala x o edala c o edala. Okay, it is not a very very big mistake. So what is my f of c going to be? F of c is going to be this particular value that I put a tick here. Okay, so in the value, so I have f of c is equal to 0. What is my limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of 0. 0 limit which veliyila edutha I'll have 0. So I have 0 here and 0 here. So it is continuous. So case 2 is also continuous. Okay, now case 3. What is my case 3? It is going to be x. Idu mudinjudhu. Now x is equal to 1. What is my x is equal to 1? I have c also is equal to 1. What is my f of c? At 1, what is my question? It is going to be 0. So f of c is going to be 0 again. So now left hand limit, right hand limit. Rendume paakano illaya. So left hand limit is limit x tends to 1 minus. 1 minus na where is the case? Which is the case? The one that I have ticked here. Correct? So I have a 0. So I have 0, which is when I take 0 outside the limit, I'll be left with simply a 0. So this is my left hand limit. Right hand limit enna agum? Limit x tends to 1 plus. What is my 1 plus? X greater than 1 ku f of x is 4x. Correct? So I have 4x. When I substitute the value of 1, I'll have 4 times 1, which is 4. So it is pretty evident that it is not equal. Correct? So in the இடத்துல I'm getting a value of 0. But my right hand limit is a 4. So I have left hand limit not equal to right hand limit. Left hand limit not equal to right hand limit. So not continuous at x is equal to 1. Now case 4 பார்க்கலாமா? So case 4 is x greater than 0, which means x greater than 1, which means c is greater than 1. So what is my f of c? Greater than 1 என்ன condition இருக்கு? 4x இருக்கு. So it is going to be 4c. What happens when f of c is 4c? I have limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of 4x. f of c 4c na f of x is going to be 4x. Correct? So இப்போ x க்கு c substitute பண்ணா what will I have? 4c. So I see that the value here is a 4c and the value here is a 4c for any value of c. So it is continuous. So it is continuous everywhere, but what is the point of discontinuity? It is not continuous at x is equal to 1, correct? So what is my point of discontinuity? Point of discontinuity is x is equal to 1. So this is my final answer, okay? Please copy. Moving on to the next question. Now 16th question. 16th question is also very similar. So now first enna cases paakano namma, you see that x is less than or equal to -1, x is also greater than -1. So first x is equal to -1 case paakano, for which you have left hand limit and the right hand limit. What is my next case? -1 less than x less than 1. Then you have x greater than 1, x less than 1. Rendu case irukku. So I have to look for x is equal to 1 because I have left hand limit and the right hand limit. Then what is my last case? X is greater than 1. Okay, it is very similar to the previous question. Ipo pannalama. So what is my case? 1. I have x is equal to -1, which means c is also equal to -1. Ipo f of c enna agapodhu? I have f of c is going to be at -1. It is -2. You see that? So f of c is going to be -2. What is my left hand limit and the right hand limit? Left hand limit na limit x tends to, what is my value? -1. -1 is the value and the minus on top of that is the left hand limit, okay? Understand the difference between the two notations. So x less than -1 now, what is my value? It is going to be -2, the value marked in pink. So it is going to be -2, which is when I take -2 outside the limit, I'll have -2. This is left hand limit. Now right hand limit enna agum? Limit x tends to -1 plus -1 is the value. So plus is the way to represent that it is a right hand limit, correct? Now right hand limit la value enna? I'll mark it with a different color. So I have right hand limit na -1 ku it is going to be 2x, and I'll also mark the other color in gray. X greater than 1 ku three different values ku three different colors mark panten. Okay, now I have -1 plus abdina it is going to be 2x, the value marked in purple highlighter. Okay, now 2x na 2 into -1. When I substitute the value of -1 to the x, I'll have 2 into -1, which is -2. Super. What do you see? The value here is a -2, the value here is a -2, and the value here is also a -2. So you see that it is continuous at x is equal to -1. Okay. So what is my second case now? Case 2 is -1 less than x less than 1. You can also write it as -1 less than c less than 1. Okay. Now in the what is my f of c, the value that is marked in purple? So f of c is going to be 2x na, in the 2c varum. What is my limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of 2x. X ku c substitute panna, I'll have 2c. So what do you see? The value here is a 2c, the value here is also a 2c. So I'll have continuity here. So continuous. Okay, now third case enna? Third case is case where x is equal to 1. Up c is also equal to 1. What is my f of c? C equal to 1 na, the value that is marked in purple in the particular line, second line. So purple na 2x. So it is going to be 2c. I need to check both the left hand limit and the right hand limit because I have two different conditions. So now left hand limit enna go? I'll have limit x tends to 1 minus of 1 minus na artham, the value is 2x. When I substitute the value, I'll have 2 times 1, which is 2. So this is my left hand limit. Right hand limit enna go? Limit x tends to 1 plus na enna value irukku? X greater than 1, it is going to be 2. So I'll have simply 2. When I take 2 outside the limit, I'll be left with 2. So what do you see? The value here is 2c. Abdina enna artham? C oda value is 1. So again when I substitute the value, I'll have 2. So in that the value is 2 here and 2 here. So I see that it is also continuous at 1. What is my fourth case now? Case 4. X is greater than 1, which means c is greater than 1. What is my f of x? F of x na enna artham? It is going to be simply 2. Appo f of c is also going to be 2. What is my limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of 2. When I take 2 outside the limit, I'll be left with 2. So what do I see? It is continuous. Rendu value 2 illaya? Continuous. You see that here is a 2, here is also a 2. So it is continuous everywhere. Continuous for every real number. Okay, please copy. Moving on to question number 17. இப்போ question number 17 I'm given find the relationship between a and b so that the function is defined and continuous at x is equal to 3 ன்னு கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. So x is equal to 3, it is continuous. I have two different conditions where x is less than or equal to 3 and when x is greater than 3. So I have both my left hand limit and the right hand limit. So I need to prove that LHL is equal to RHL. Then I can find the relationship between a and b. A க்கும் b க்கும் relationship கேக்குறாங்க. Okay. So what is my first case? At x is equal to 3. What is my condition? F of x is going to be ax plus 1. So this is when x is equal to 3. அப்ப என்ன ஆகும்? F of 3 substitute பண்ணா I'll have 3a plus 1. So this is my f of 3. Okay, I found out this. What is my second case? This is case 1. What is my second case? Case 2. I'll have the left hand limit which is going to be limit x tends to 3 minus of ax plus 1. What is the function there? Ax plus 1. Appa 3 substitute panna what will I have? 3a plus 1. So this is my left hand limit. What is my right hand limit? Right hand limit is going to be limit x tends to 3 plus. 3 plus na enna condition irukku? It is going to be bx plus 3. The value marked in purple. Okay, so I have bx plus 3. I'll have bx plus 3 and I substitute the value of 3. I'll have 3b plus 3. So it is given that the function is continuous. Function is continuous at x is equal to 3, which means the left hand limit should be equal to the right hand limit, which should also be equal to f of c. This is basically f of c. Correct? C oda value 3. So f of 3 ku f of c ku equal ah irukanum. So left hand limit equal to right hand limit na enna artham? I'll have 3a plus 1 equal to 3b plus 3. So what is the relation when I bring the constants to one side? I'll have 3a equals 3b plus 3 minus 1. When 1 comes to the other side, I'll have minus 1. So I have 3a equals 3b plus 2. When I divide the whole equation by 3, dividing the whole equation by 3, I'll have a equals b plus 2 divided by 3. So this is the relationship between a and b. Okay? Please copy. Question number 18. For what value of lambda is the function defined when continuous at x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 1? So first x is equal to 0 case paakalam. So x is equal to 0 case. Let me look at x is equal to 0 case first. 0 case na enna artham? I see that I have two different limits. X less than or equal to 0, x greater than 0 irukku. So I have to look for left hand limit and the right hand limit. So ipo left hand limit paapoma first. So what is my left hand limit? I have limit x tends to 0 minus. 0 minus na what is my value? The value that is marked here. And I'll mark this in gray. Okay. Now what is the f of x? Lambda times x square minus 2x. When I substitute the value of 0 to x, what will I have? Lambda times 0 square minus 2 into 0. So I'll have lambda times 0 which is going to be 0. Left hand limit enna vandirukku? 0 nu vandirukku. The lambda itself is lost. You see that? Okay. Now what is my right hand limit? Limit x tends to 0 plus. 0 plus na the value marked in gray. So I'll have 4x plus 1 which is going to be, when I substitute the value of x to be 0, I'll have 4 times 0 plus 1 which is going to be 1. So left hand limit is not equal to right hand limit. You see that I have left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. What is my f of c also? F of c enna value varudhu? At x is equal to 0, I'll have lambda times x square minus 2x. This is my f of x. So f of c is going to be lambda times c square minus 2c. At c equal to 0, I'll again have lambda times 0 square minus 2 into lambda. So this is going to be 0 again. So what do I see here? I have 0 equals 1 equals 0. This is my left hand limit. This is my right hand limit. Sorry. This is my right hand limit and this is my left hand limit and this is my f of c. I see that moonume unequal ah irukku. Correct? I cannot have 0 equals 1 equals 0. So it is not continuous. Not continuous for any lambda. Okay, so this is my first case. இப்போ x is equal to 1 கேக்குறாங்க. So x is equal to 1 na I have only one condition where x is greater than 0. The value that is marked in gray, correct? So what is my f of x? F of x is going to be 4x plus 1. So what is my f of c? It is going to be 4c plus 1. Now what is my limit going to be? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is limit x tends to c of 4x plus 1. When I substitute the value of c, what will I have? 4c plus 1. So I see that the value here is 4c plus 1 and the value here is also 4c plus 1. So it is continuous. Okay. Continuous for all real numbers. Okay, everywhere. So it is also continuous at 1. Okay, please copy. Moving on to question number 19. இப்போ question number 19ல என்ன கொடுத்திருக்கு? Show that the function defined by g of x is equal to x minus gif, greatest integer function. You remember, this is your greatest integer function. அப்படினா என்ன அர்த்தம்? If for example, your value of x, I'll change to a different color. So if your value of x is 1, okay? This is not visible. So if your value of x, okay, is equal to 1, okay, if your value of x is equal to 1, what will be your value? 1 க்கு மேல இருந்ததுனா you see that the dotted line is included over here. This is a hollow circle, correct? Hollow circle na enna artham? The value is not included. The dotted means that the value is included. So when the value of x is equal to 1, what is my value of gif of x? It is also going to be equal to 1. You see that the value here is going to be 1. So the value here is going to be 1, correct? Now when the value of x is slightly less than 1, இப்போ 0.9 அப்படின்னு இருக்குன்னா என்ன அர்த்தம்? The value, if it is slightly less than 1, it is going to take the value of, you see here in the value, so it is going to be 0. So my gif of x is going to be 0. If my value is slightly greater than 1, it is going to take the value of 1. You see, so basically இது என்ன? The left hand limit and the right hand limit. So this is like my left hand limit and this is like my right hand limit. So when the value of x is a 1, the value that is slightly to the right of 1 na, it will take the value of 1 itself. So here you see left hand limit la c minus irudhu, right hand limit la c plus irudhuduna, the value is going to be c itself. If when you consider the case of 0.9, you see that the value is 0, அதாவது இருக்கிற வேல்யூவை விட கம்மி ஆயிடுது, கரெக்ட்டா? It is 1 minus 1. So I'll have c minus 1. Okay, you can take any other example also. If you take the value of x is equal to 2, what are the values before and after 2? Very very close. It is going to be 2.1 and 1.9. இப்போ 2.1 na, the value is going to be a 2. If it is going to be 1.9, the value is going to be a 1. So here basically the math is, it is equal to c in the particular case, and here it is going to be c minus 1. In the இடத்துல c minus 1, so this is going to be 1. Okay, so this is your greatest integer function. This how do you write in general? This is all written in numbers. General எழுதணும்னா எப்படி எழுதணும்? You'll write it as your greatest integer function is going to be simply x minus 1 when it is a left hand limit, and it is simply going to be x when it is a right hand limit. Okay, so இந்த மாதிரி தான் எழுதணும். Now I need to solve for different cases, correct? Basically I'm having a left hand limit and the right hand limit. If different cases ku solve பண்ணனும்னா, what is my g of x now? G of x is going to be x minus gif of x. Sorry, x minus the gif of x, correct? So இப்போ இந்த கேஸ்ல இதை எப்படி solve பண்ண போறேன்? I'm going to take two different conditions. So first, left hand limit. So what is it going to be? Limit x tends to some c minus, what is my function going to be? X minus the gif of x. So in the இடத்துல x is going to take the value, when it is less than, it is going to take the value x minus 1, correct? I'll mark with two different colors, purple and pink. Okay, now the value marked in purple is my left hand limit, correct? How will my limit change? My limit is going to look like this. Limit x tends to c minus of x minus x minus 1. Okay, minus க்கு எப்பவுமே bracket போடுங்க. So what is my next step? It is going to be limit குள்ள தான் இருக்கு, இன்னும் limitல இருந்து வெளியில எடுக்கல. So what will I have? I'll have limit x tends to c minus of x minus x plus 1. I'm multiplying the minus inside. So in the இடத்துல minus x, in the இடத்துல minus of minus is going to be plus. So minus x and the minus x is going to get cancelled. Minus x and the minus x is going to get cancelled. So I'll have 1 left inside the limit. When I take 1 outside the limit, it is simply going to be 1. This is left hand limit. இப்போ right hand limit என்ன ஆக போகுது? Right hand limit is going to be limit x tends to c plus of x minus. This is my function. What happens when I apply the GIF for right hand limit? C plus na right hand limit kenna paathom, it is going to be the number itself marked in pink. Correct? So this is going to be x minus x, which is going to be simply 0. So ipo inga enna theriyudhu, left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. So the given function is not continuous. Okay? As simple as that. Please copy. Question number 20. Is the function defined by f of x is equal to, I'll write the question for you, f of x equals x square. Okay, can you see the question now? F of x equals x square minus sin x plus phi, defined at x is equal to pi. The pi is missing in the question. Please include x is equal to pi. Idhula vandu defined aan kekranga. Okay, so what is my f of c first? So x is equal to pi na, the c value is also going to be pi. What is my f of c? C square minus sin c plus phi. So ipo pi substitute panna enna agum? What happens when I substitute the value of pi? I'll have pi square minus sin pi plus phi. What is my sin pi? Sin pi oda value enna? Ipo நம்ம இந்த இடத்துல quadrant பார்த்தோம்னா sin 0 is 0, sin 90 is 1 and sin pi is again 0. So I'll have sin pi to be 0. So I have pi square minus 0 plus 5, which is pi square plus 5. So this is my f of c. F of c kandupidichachu. Okay, so let me mark this. So this is my f of c. What happens when I do my limit? Limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to pi of f of x. So what is my f of x now? X square minus sin x plus 5. But you have to remember from the example questions that I taught you that whenever you have trigonometric functions, sin, cos, tan, idala irundhuduna, you should not substitute the value of x directly to the f of x. இந்த மாதிரி லிமிட்டை substitute பண்ண கூடாது. So what is your alternative? What else do you have to do? You have to change your variable x to be pi plus h. இந்த மாதிரி change பண்ணிக்கணும். இந்த மாதிரி change பண்ணா what will be my h? h is going to be x minus pi. I'm going to change the limit also. எனக்கு limit எப்போமே I want my limit to be h tends to 0. Some variable tending to 0. Not x tending to pi. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல இருக்கு இல்லையா x tending to pi இருக்கா? I don't want this particular thing. I want something like h tending to 0. அதனால நான் என்ன எடுக்க போறேன்? I'm going to take x is equal to pi plus h. I'm going to take the value that is given in the question and I'm going to add h to this. So what happens when x tends to pi? What happens to h? H will tend to x minus pi. What is my value of x? So this is going to be pi minus pi, which is 0. So when x tends to pi, what is my value of h going to tend to? H is going to tend to 0. இப்போ என்னோட லிமிட் எப்படி சேஞ்ச் ஆக போகுது? My limit x tends to pi now is going to change in terms of h. அப்போ h in change ஆச்சுனா என்ன ஆகும்? h tends to 0. Of how does my question change now? This will change into x is going to be pi plus h the whole square minus sin of pi plus h plus 5. The entire thing is inside the limit. Okay, இப்போ limit குள்ள இருக்கு. This is my h. Okay, now I'm going to open the brackets and then substitute the value of h tending to 0. எதனால நம்ம இந்த மாதிரி பண்றோம்? You have learned that limit h tends to 0 of sin h divided by h is going to be 1. இல்லாட்டி டைரக்டா சப்ஸ்டிட்யூட் பண்ணா என்ன ஆகும்? 0 by 0 not defined னு வரும். பட் அந்த மாதிரி நமக்கு வேண்டாம். அதனால whenever you have trigonometric functions, you have to use the identity that you learned in your 11th standard. Limit h tends to 0 of sin h divided by h is going to be 1. You are always going to use this particular identity. Okay, so இப்போ இதை வந்து நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ணி இந்த questions solve பண்ண போறோம். I'll move this aside for a while. Okay, now moving on to the question, I'm going to open the bracket. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல limit h tends to 0, limit h tends to 0 of a plus b the whole square. This is a plus b the whole square. So I have pi square plus h square plus 2 pi h. Then I have minus sin of pi h. இப்போ minus sin of pi h எப்படி எழுதலாம்? Minus is there. I'm going to open a bracket. I have sin of a plus b. What is the formula for sin of a plus b? Sin of a plus b is going to be sin a cos b plus cos a sin b. Correct? So this is going to be the formula that I'm going to use. So when I use it here, in the இடத்துல sin of pi plus h இருக்கு. So I have sin a cos b plus cos a sin b. So this is my sin of pi plus h. இது தவிர plus 5 இருக்கு. I have not applied the limit yet. So I have plus 5. So when I apply the limits slowly, h is equal to 0 னு apply பண்ணா என்ன ஆகும்? I'll have pi square plus 0 square plus 2 pi times 0 minus, I'm still opening the bracket. ஏன்னா இந்த இடத்துல நிறைய terms இருக்கு. Sin pi cos 0 plus cos pi sin 0, and you see that 5 is a term which is independent of the limit. So I can directly write it as 5. So what do I have now? Pi square plus இது எல்லாமே 0 ஆயிடும் minus I have sin pi cos 0. So this is going to be sin pi ஓட value என்ன? 0 times cos 0 is going to be 1 plus cos pi ஓட value என்ன? Cos pi is minus 1. Cos of 180 is going to be minus 1 and sin 0 is going to be again 0, and I have plus 5. So இந்த இடத்துல bracket குள்ள இருக்கிற term ஃபுல்லாவே 0 ஆயிடுது. So I have pi square minus 0 plus 5. I have pi square plus 5. So what do you see? What is my ultimate goal? Limit x tends to c of f of x should be equal to f of c. Is it so? In my case, limit x tends to pi of f of x is f of pi. Correct? Value match acha? Where is my highlighter? So it is going to be pi square plus 5 in that. So I have pi square plus 5 marked in purple, and I also got pi square plus 5 here. I have marked this again in purple. So rendu value equal, so it is continuous. Okay? Continuous at x equal to pi. Okay, very very simple. Please copy. Moving on to question number 21. Discuss the continuity of the following functions. You have learnt in your example question that sin x is continuous and cos x is also a continuous function. இப்போ நம்ம என்ன பண்ண போறோம்? I'm going to take g of x to be cos x and h of x to be sin x. What did we learn about continuity? If g is a continuous function and h is a continuous function, அப்ப என்னென்னலாம் ரிலேஷன்ஸ் தெரியும்? You have the sum is continuous, the difference is continuous, the product is continuous, and the division is also continuous provided the denominator is not equal to 0. இந்த கண்டிஷன்ஸ்லாம் படிச்சோமா? So first நம்ம என்ன ப்ரூவ் பண்ண போறோம்? We are going to prove that g is continuous and h is continuous. அதாவது cos is a continuous function and sin is a continuous function. இது ரெண்டுமே ப்ரூவ் பண்ணிட்டா I can use these four relations to prove that the given three subsections இது மூணுமே continuous னு ப்ரூவ் பண்ணிடலாம். இந்த இடத்துல என்ன இருக்கு? addition இருக்கு, இந்த இடத்துல subtraction, இந்த இடத்துல multiplication. Okay? g of x என்ன? g of x is going to be cos x. Okay? So g of x, I'll change it. I have sin x first, அப்புறம் cos x இருக்கு. அதனால I will just change g as h and h as g. Okay? So இந்த இடத்துல h, இது g. Okay? Now, my h of x is cos x. இப்போ cos x continuous னு நம்ம prove பண்ண போறோம். So what is my first step? h of c is going to be cos c. So இத first நம்ம mark பண்ணிடலாம். h of c is cos c. Now I need to prove that the limit also gives me the same value. அப்ப என்ன பண்ணோம்? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of f of x என்ன? Cos x. But do you have to substitute the value directly? No. Whenever you're dealing with a trigonometric function, you always have to change your variable. என்னன்னு change பண்ண போறோம்? I'm going to change my x to be c plus h. இந்த மாதிரி change பண்ண போறோம். என்ன நமக்கு limitல value இருக்கோ that plus h. So what will my h become? h is going to be x minus c. அப்ப if x tends to c, my h will tend to x minus c, which is c minus c, which is 0. Correct? அப்ப x tending to c is very very equivalent to h tending to 0. இப்போ என்னோட limit எப்படி change ஆகும்? Limit h tends to 0 of cos of x என்னது? c plus h. Okay, so this is of the form cos of a plus b. Cos of a plus b என்ன formula தெரியும்? Cos of a plus b is going to be cos a cos b minus sin a sin b. Correct? Plus இருந்ததுனா minus, minus இருந்ததுனா plus. Okay, now applying the formula, what will I have? Limit h tends to 0 of cos a cos b minus sin a sin b. When I apply the limit, what will I have? H is 0 pota, I will have cos c cos 0 minus sin c sin 0. So I have cos c cos 0 is 1 minus sin 0 is a 0. So in the whole term will go off. It will become a 0. So I am getting a cos c. So what do I see? I have cos c ingeyum I have cos c. So I see that the limit and the function is equal. So cos x is a continuous function. Similarly, you have to prove that sine is also a continuous function. We have done this in the examples, but again I'll do it for you. இதுக்கு மேல நான் பண்ண மாட்டேன். Okay, so please note it down. Please have it in your mind that sine and cos are continuous functions. Okay, so இப்போ என்னோட g of x என்ன? G of x is sin x. So my g of c is going to be sin c. G தானே? Yes, g of c is going to be sin c. இப்போ இதை வந்து ஹைலைட்டர்ல மார்க் பண்ணிடலாமா? So I have g of c to be sin c. Limit வந்து அதே தான் வரப்போகுது. நமக்கு தெரியும் it is going to be the same limit. But how do you prove it? Limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of sin x. You should not substitute the value directly. X is equal to c plus h in edutha. H is going to be x minus c. X tends to c, so h tends to 0. Okay, very very similar. So limit h tends to 0 of sin of c plus h. போன questionல sin of c plus h என்ன formula பார்த்தோம்? We saw that sin of c plus h, a plus b is sin a cos b plus cos a sin b. போன questionல பார்த்தோமா? It is right here. Okay, now when I apply the same thing over here, what will I have? Sin of a plus b, which is limit h tends to 0 of sin a cos b plus cos a sin b. இந்த formula apply பண்ணலாம். Now I am going to apply the limit. H is equal to 0 pota, I will have sin c cos 0 plus cos c sin 0. So this whole term will become a 0. And sin 0 is a 0. So I will be left with sin c. So you see that the value here is a sin c and the value that you marked on the top is also a sin c. So it is continuous. Okay. So I have g of x is continuous and h of x is continuous. So the given subsections in sin x plus cos x. Sin x plus cos x is continuous. Sin x minus cos x is continuous. And sin x times cos x is also a continuous function. Okay. So I have first, second and the third subsections are all continuous using these relations. In the relations I use panni, I have all of these to be continuous. Okay, so this is how you have to write. Please copy. Question number 22. It is a very very straightforward question. So இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல என்ன கேக்குறாங்க? Discuss the continuity of cosine, cos function, then the continuity of cosecant. So I have cosecant of x. Let me make this smaller. So I have cos x, cosecant of x, adukapro secant, secant of x, and I need cot of x. I have to prove that all these functions are continuous. So I proved that cos is a continuous function. Please check my previous question. Correct? போன questionலயே நம்ம prove பண்ணிட்டோம். So இப்போ cosecant, secant and cot. So I'm going to take my f of x to be cosecant x, which I can also write it as 1 divided by sin x. What did I prove in my previous question? Sin x is continuous. But whenever you have a function in the denominator, it should not be equal to 0. So my denominator should not be equal to 0. Now my sin x should not be equal to 0. So what should be my x value? X should not be equal to n pi. You very well know that the sin value of x is equal to 0 when x is equal to n pi. But this should not be the case. If it should not be the case, x is not equal to n pi is my condition. So x not equal to n pi na sin x not equal to 0. So cosecant is also a continuous function everywhere except everywhere except x is equal to n pi. So any value where x is not equal to n pi, the function is continuous. Okay, so this is my cosecant x oda case. Ipo secant x. So I'll take g of x to be secant x, which I can also write it as 1 by cos x. So similarly, I have cos x is continuous, but I want my denominator to not be equal to 0. So I have cos x not equal to 0. அப்போ x ஓட condition என்னவா இருக்க கூடாது? It should not be equal to 2n plus 1 times pi divided by 2. You remember cos x is equal to 0 when x is equal to 2n plus 1 times pi by 2. You remember this? So here in this case, it should not be equal to that case. So I have x is equal to 2n plus 1. அது இந்த மாதிரி இருக்க கூடாது. So in this case, I'll have x not equal to 2n plus 1 times pi by 2. So secant x is also continuous everywhere except, this is how you write your answer, okay, everywhere except x is equal to 2n plus 1 times pi divided by 2. You have to remember all these conditions. Okay, இப்போ third enna? Cot x. So similarly, I'm going to take h of x to be cot x, which I can also write it as cos x divided by sin x. So I know that cos x and sin x are continuous, but my denominator should not be equal to 0. அப்போ sin x not equal to 0 na x not equal to 0, sorry, x not equal to n pi. So cot x is also continuous except x is equal to n pi. X is equal to n pi தவிர cot x is also a continuous function. Okay, please copy. Moving on to question number 23. Find the points of discontinuity of f where f of x is equal to two different functions கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. x less than 0 ஒரு condition, x greater than or equal to 0. So you see that I have two different conditions. Okay. So now what is my first step? f of x எழுதணும். So what is my f of x? f of x is equal to x plus 1 when c is equal to 0. அப்போ f of c என்ன? f of c is going to be c plus 1. When I substitute the value of c, what will I get? 0 plus 1 equal to 1. இப்போ f of c ஓட value கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சு. Now I need to find my limits, left hand limit and the right hand limit, because I have two different sides இல்லையா, x less than 0 and x greater than or equal to 0. So I have two different ranges. So I'll have to find both my left hand limit and the right hand limit. Correct? Okay. Now what is my left hand limit? Left hand limit is going to be limit x tends to 0 minus of f of x. What is it going to be? I'll mark it in purple. So this is my left hand limit, and for right hand limit, this is going to be the value. Okay. Ipo. This is equal to limit x tends to 0 minus of f of x, marked in purple, is going to be sin x divided by x. Sin x divided by x when limit x tends to 0. So what is the value of this? It is going to be simply 1. You don't have to apply the value here. So what happens, even if you put the substitution panna nagum, x is equal to c plus h. This is our general substitution, correct? So what is the value of c for you? 0 plus h. So x is equal to h in pota. You'll again get sin h divided by h, which is very, very similar to sin x divided by x, because your limit is already tending to 0, correct? So in this case, what am I going to do? I'm directly going to write sin x divided by x is equal to 1. This is my right hand limit. What is my left hand limit? Left hand limit is going to be limit x tends to 0 plus of f of x. Again, they are marked in pink, which is limit x tends to 0 plus of x plus 1. When I substitute the value of 0, I'm going to get 0 plus 1, which is going to be 1. So what do I see here? I have left hand limit equal to the right hand limit equal to f of c. So it is continuous at c equal to 0, at x is equal to 0. So it is continuous at x is equal to 0. இப்போ first case prove பண்ணியாச்சு. For c equal to 0, we have proved. We need to prove for c less than 0 now. c less than 0, what is my f of x first? c less than 0, it is going to be sin x divided by x. So I have sin x divided by x. So what is my f of c? It is going to be sin c divided by c. If f of c கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சு, I need to find my limit. So I have limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of sin x divided by x. இதுதானே f of x. Now substituting the value of c, I have limit. Okay, value substitute பண்ண போறேன். So I'm going to have sin c divided by c. So this is nothing but they are equal. So the values marked in purple are going to be equal. இது ரெண்டும் equal ங்கிறதுனால it is going to be continuous at c less than 0. Okay, now c greater than 0 case. இந்த இடத்துல போடலாமா? So I have c greater than 0. So what is my f of x from the question? I have the one that is marked in pink. So in this one, so I have x plus 1. So my f of x is equal to x plus 1. So what is my f of c? It is going to be c plus 1. So if f of c கண்டுபிடிச்சாச்சு, I need to find the limit. Limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of x plus 1. Substituting the value of c, I will have c plus 1. So what do I see? I have c plus 1 equal to c plus 1. So the limit and the f of c is going to be equal. So final answer எப்படி எழுதணும்? Limit x tends to c of f of x is equal to f of c. This you have to write for each and every case. Okay, இந்த மாதிரி எழுதிட்டு தான், that's why it is continuous. So continuous at c greater than 0. So it is continuous everywhere. So no point of discontinuity. Okay, clear? Okay, please copy. Please pause the video or take a screenshot, whichever is convenient. Okay. Moving on to question number 24 now. Okay, determine if the function defined by f of x is a continuous function. Continuous இல்லையான்னு prove பண்ண சொல்றாங்க. So you have x not equal to 0, which means it is going to satisfy for both x greater than 0 and x less than 0. இந்த ரெண்டு கண்டிஷனும் satisfy பண்ண போகுது. And I have x is equal to 0 க்கு ஒரு condition கொடுத்திருக்கு. So I'm going to mark that in purple and this I'm going to mark in pink. Okay, super. Now what is my first step? For c equal to 0 பார்க்கலாமா? So I'll have both left hand limit and right hand limit. Whenever you're dealing with equal to cases and whenever you see different range of values, x less than 0, x greater than 0, x equal to 0, you always have to take your left hand limit and the right hand limit and see that if they are equal. Left hand limit equal to right hand limit the limit exists. If not, there is no limit. Correct? Okay, now c equal to 0. First of all, what is my f of x? Equal to 0, it is going to be 0. It is given in purple. I have f of c is equal to 0. இப்போ limit பார்க்கலாமா? Left hand limit. Limit x tends to 0 minus of f of x. It is going to be limit x tends to 0 minus of x square sin 1 divided by x. இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல 0 substitute பண்ணா என்ன ஆகும்? Okay, this is my left hand limit. What happens when I substitute a 0? I'm going to get 0 square times sin 1 by 0. Sin infinity ன்னு ஏதாவது இருக்கா? இல்ல. So what do you have to do in such cases? This is not possible. This one is not possible. I'll not erase this, but please make sure that this is not possible. Okay? இப்போ இந்த sum எப்படி போடலாம்? What is my range of sin? You know that sin theta oda range is going to be between -1 and 1. You agree? Where are your values? So இந்த இடத்துல sin theta is 0. Here sin theta is 1. Here sin theta is again 0. Here sin theta is -1. So what is the range of values for sin? It is going to be from -1 to 1. Correct? Now I'm going to multiply the entire inequality with x square. எதனால நான் இது பண்ண போறேன்? What is my sin theta in this case? It is going to be -1 less than or equal to sin 1 by x less than or equal to 1. If I need a x square, you see that I have a x square here. So I need an x square in the equation. So I'm going to multiply the inequality by x square. So multiply panna enna agum? I'm going to have minus x square less than or equal to x square times sin 1 by x less than or equal to x square. Do you agree? So you have 2 less than or equal to 3 less than or equal to 4. If when I multiply the whole equation, whole inequality by 2, I'm going to have 4 less than or equal to 6 less than or equal to 8. Does it change the inequality? No, it does not change the inequality. Multiplying by a negative number is going to change your inequality. If into -2 panna, I'm going to have -4 greater than or equal to -6 greater than or equal to -8. You agree? So when I multiply with a negative number, your inequality is going to change. Greater than will become a less than and less than will become a greater than. Correct? In the less than symbol வந்து இந்த இடத்துல greater than மாறிடுச்சு. When I am multiplying with a negative number. You see that you have to understand all this in linear inequality. Class 11 la solve pannirpen. Please watch the video, okay? Okay, so in that inequality vechi நம்ம பார்த்தாச்சு. Now what is going to be my next step? I need to apply the limit. Limit தான வேணும் நமக்கு. இந்த இடத்துல what do I have? I need to find the limit for this. So இப்போ taking limit for the entire inequality. So limit x tending to 0 for the whole inequality. So what will happen? I'll have limit x tends to 0 minus of minus x square less than or equal to limit x tends to 0 minus of x square sine 1 by x less than or equal to limit x tends to 0 minus of x square. Ipo in the term and in the term. So I have two different terms. I see that limit x tends to 0 minus of minus x square is going to be 0 and limit x tends to 0 minus of x square is also going to be 0. So how does my inequality change now? I'm going to have 0 less than or equal to limit x tends to 0 minus of x square sine 1 divided by x less than or equal to 0. If you have an inequality, in between you have a limit term and left hand side right hand side you have the value of 0. So when do you have one term which is surrounded by zeros and the value is 0 irundha, so the value has to be definitely 0. So you're looking for the value of limit x tends to 0 of x square sine 1 by x. Adoda value enna irukku podhu? By comparing the inequality, I'm going to have limit x tends to 0 minus of x square sine 1 divided by x is going to be 0. Okay, you have to understand that this is what we are looking for. Okay, so in the இடத்துல இதுதான் நம்ம பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கோம். You need to find the left hand limit. You need to find this one. You need to find the left hand limit. So I found the value. இப்போ left hand limit மாதிரியே right hand limit க்கு I'm going to have the same thing. So I'm going to have right hand limit where limit x tends to 0 plus க்கு என்ன case? You see the value marked in pink. The value that is marked in pink, it is going to be the same thing. X greater than 0 க்கும் ஒரே function தான், x less than 0 க்கும் ஒரே function தான். So I'm going to have limit x tends to 0 plus of x square sine 1 divided by x is going to be 0 similarly. Okay, like how you solved the previous one. So இப்போ எல்லாத்துக்குமே limit exists. What is the value? Let me compare. So I'm going to see that the value here f of c is also a 0. The value of left hand limit is also a 0. The value of right hand limit is also a 0. So it is continuous at x is equal to 0. Correct na? So I'll write continuous at x is equal to 0. So first case mudinjudhu. Now you have to look for c less than 0 and c greater than 0. This is pretty straightforward. So c less than 0 kum greater than 0 kum it is going to be the same thing. So renduthime same simultaneous ah pannilama. C less than 0 and c greater than 0, which means c is not equal to 0. So this is the general case. Next case. So what is my f of x? F of x is going to be x square sine 1 divided by x. So what is my f of c? F of c is going to be c square sine 1 divided by c. Now I'm going to take the limit. So limit x tends to c of f of x is going to be limit x tends to c of what is my f of x? X square sine 1 divided by x. So when I substitute the limit, I'm going to have c square sine 1 divided by c. So you see that the values are equal. The value here and the value here is equal. So it is continuous for x not equal to 0 also. So it is continuous everywhere. Okay, this is how you write. So basically the function is continuous everywhere. Continuous for all real numbers. Okay, please take a screenshot, copy, or pause the video and copy. Okay. Moving on to question number 25. Examine the continuity of the function where f is defined by f of x equals sin x minus cos x if x is not equal to 0. So ingeyume adhe case. I have x less than 0 and x greater than 0 to be the same function. Ipo first c equal to 0 paakalama. So first case I have c equal to 0, which means I have to look for both left hand limit and the right hand limit because I have a function where x is not equal to 0. Correct? Okay. Now what is my f of x? My f of x is going to be the value that is marked here. Marked in gray. Okay, so it is going to be minus 1. F of x is minus 1. So f of c is also going to be minus 1. You see that there is no term which is dependent on the x. Correct? It is independent of x. So I'm going to have f of x and f of c. What is my left hand limit? Left hand limit is going to be limit x tends to 0 minus of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to 0 minus of sin x minus cos x. When I substitute the value of the limit, I'm going to have sin 0 minus cos 0. Sin 0 minus cos 0. Sin 0 is a 0. Cos 0 is 1. So 0 minus 1 is going to be minus 1. Left hand limit minus 1. Now what is my right hand limit? Limit x tends to 0 plus of f of x equal to limit x tends to 0 plus of sin x minus cos x. Again, when I substitute the value of the limit, I'm going to have sin 0 minus cos 0. So again, it's 0 minus 1, which is minus 1. So what is my final answer? It is going to be minus 1 for f of c, left hand limit, and the right hand limit. So it is continuous at x is equal to 0. First case mudinjadu. Continuous at x equals 0. So what is my next case? I need to look for c less than 0. Correct? C less than 0 and c greater than 0, which is going to be combined as c not equal to 0. Okay. Now what is my f of x? F of x is going to be sin x minus cos x. So what is my f of c? It is going to be sin c minus cos c. So sin c minus cos c irukku. Ipo limit edukano. So I have limit x tends to c of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to c of sin x minus cos x. So in the edathila usually what do? We substitute x is equal to c plus h. In the edathila c oda value enna? Again it is going to be x is equal to 0 plus h. So you are going to have sin h minus cos h, where your h is going to tend to 0. Correct? So in the mari pannumbodhu idella nama previous question la pannittom. So I'm not going to do it again for you. When I substitute the value of the limit, I'm going to have sin c minus cos c. So what do you see here? Sin c minus cos c here and sin c minus cos c here. So you see that it is continuous for c not equal to 0. So basically it is continuous everywhere. Okay? Continuous for all real numbers. Okay? Please take a screenshot or pause the video and copy. Question number 26. Find the values of k so that the function f is continuous at the indicated point. Any indicated point? It is x is equal to pi by 2 in this case. So you have to prove that it is continuous at x is equal to pi by 2. Okay. So what is my first step? First, left hand limit, right hand limit, rendume kandupidikano for the case c equal to pi by 2. Correct? So I have c equals pi divided by 2. This is my first case. So what is my f of x? F of x is going to be at pi by 2, it is 3. So f of c is also going to be 3. So f of c kandupidichache, f of x kandupidichache. Now the limit. So left hand limit is going to be limit x tends to pi by 2 minus of k cos x divided by pi minus 2x. So in the pi by 2 substitute panna enna agapodhu? I'm going to have, when I substitute pi by 2 directly, I'll have cos pi by 2 divided by pi minus 2 pi by 2. So in the 2 and the 2 will get cancelled. So I'll have cos pi by 2 is 0 divided by pi minus pi is going to be again 0. So 0 by 0, it's not defined. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to use a substitution method. So I'm going to write x is equal to c plus h liya. So pi by 2 plus h. What is your value of c here? Pi by 2. Okay. So now what is your h? X minus pi by 2. If a limit enagum, when I change the variable, I'm going to change the limit also. So if x tends to pi by 2, h tends to pi by 2 minus pi by 2, which is going to be 0. So h tends to 0. If a limit eppadi marum, my limit changes like this. Limit h tends to 0 minus of k cos x badal I'm going to substitute pi by 2 plus h divided by, what is my denominator? Pi minus 2 times pi by 2 plus h. So instead of the x, I'm substituting the value of pi by 2 plus h. In the edathila x irka, so I'm substituting the value of pi by 2 plus h. Now what does my limit look like? So when I solve this, it is limit h tends to 0 minus of k times cos pi by 2 plus h enna? Cos of, I'll write it in a different color. So I have cos 90 plus theta. Cos 90 plus theta na endha quadrant la irukku? This is my 90 line. 90 plus theta na, we are in the second quadrant. So it is all silver T cups. Cos of 90 plus theta is going to be sin theta, but when we are dealing with cos, only sin is positive in the second quadrant. Cos is negative, correct? So it is going to be minus sin theta. So cos of 90 plus theta is going to be minus sin theta, correct? So cos of 90 plus h, pi by 2 plus h is going to become minus sin h divided by, in the pi minus, I am going to multiply the 2 inside. So I am going to have 2 times pi by 2 plus 2h. Minus in bracket ke veliyile dhaan irukku. So this gets cancelled. Now I am going to open the bracket. So I have limit h tends to 0 minus of minus k into sin h divided by pi minus 2h. When I open the bracket, the minus goes inside. So I have minus pi minus 2h. So in the limit enagum, it becomes limit h tends to 0 minus of minus k sin h divided by pi minus pi is a 0, and I have minus 2h. So the minus and the minus will get cancelled. The minus and the minus will get cancelled, and I can take the k divided by 2 outside the limit because they are constants, correct? So if a constant in a limit, what will I have? K divided by 2 times limit h tends to 0 of sin h divided by h. 0 minus, we are dealing with left hand limit. So k by 2 times limit h tends to 0 minus of sin h divided by h. I have limit h tends to 0 of sin h divided by h is equal to 1. You learnt this in limits and derivatives in your class 11th, correct? Okay, now this becomes k divided by 2 times 1, which is going to be k divided by 2. Super. So we have found out what our left hand limit is. So this is our left hand limit. I found out what my left hand limit is. I have also found out what my f of c is, which is 3. So in that they are asking me to find the value of k, correct? I need to find what my value of k. My right hand limit is also going to give me the same answer, correct? What is my f of x for right hand limit? It is going to be the same thing. So I'm going to do the same steps. I'm going to do all these similar steps. So I'm going to get the right hand limit also to be k by 2. So I'm going to have limit x tends to pi by 2 plus of f of x. I'm going to get the same value similarly, okay? Similar to the previous steps. Now, left hand limit equal to the right hand limit equal to limit x tends to pi by 2 of f of x, because it is given that the function is continuous. Because the given function is continuous. It is given in the question, correct? See, if the function is continuous, then find the value of k. In the I need to find the value of k. So if left hand limit equals to the right hand limit, I will have k divided by 2 equals, what is my f of c from this? It is going to be 3. So I have k by 2 equals 3. So k equals 6. Okay, pretty simple. So this is my final answer. Please copy. Question number 27. Find the value of k. Again, you need to find the value of k. It is given that the function is continuous. So the function is continuous and you need to find the value of k. So in the it is continuous. Now what is the meaning? The left hand limit is equal to the right hand limit, which is also equal to the limit x tending to 2. Your value of x is going to be 2 here. So x tending to 2 of f of x, which is equal to f of 2. So this is the first thing that you need to interpret. This interpret panta answer easier potrala. So first left hand limit enna? Limit x tends to 2 minus of the value that is marked in pink and grey greater than, okay? So now x tending to 2 minus. So x tending to 2 minus, so the function is going to be k x square. So in the x value substitute panna, I'm going to have k times 2 square, which is going to be 4k. Okay, so this is my left hand limit. What is my right hand limit? Right hand limit is going to be limit x tending to 2 plus of f of x and 3, the value that is marked in grey. So 3, when I take 3 outside the limit, I'm going to have 3. Okay, very good. What is my f of 2? First of all, what is my f of x? F of x is going to be at 2, it is kx square. So f of 2 is going to be k times 2 square, which is going to be 4k. So left hand limit equal to right hand limit equal to the function. Now what is it going to be? 4k is equal to 3 is equal to 4k. So when I equate two of these, so either end equate panna, what will I have? 3 equals 4k. So k equals 3 divided by 4. So So this is my value of k. It is pretty straightforward. There is nothing difficult in this. Okay. Please copy. Moving on to question number 28. So question number 28, again, find the value of k so that the function f is continuous at the indicated point. So indicated point na x is equal to pi the indicated point. So again the same step. What enna step? Left hand limit equal to the right hand limit equal to f of pi. Super. So first step, what is my left hand limit? Limit x tends to pi minus na x less than or equal to pi. So this one. So I'm going to have x less than or equal to pi la enna irukku? Kx plus 1. When I substitute the value of the limit to x, I'm going to have k times pi plus 1. So this is the left hand limit. This further simplify panna mudiyadhu. What is my right hand limit? Limit x tends to pi plus na the value that is marked in purple now. So cos x. So I have cos x. What is my cos pi? Is going to be minus 1. When I substitute the value of the limit, it is going to be cos pi, which is minus 1. So, if left hand limit, right hand limit kandupidichachu. What is my f of x? F of x is going to be kx plus 1. So, my f of pi is going to be k pi plus 1. So, according to the first condition, the condition that I just marked by 1, I am going to have k pi plus 1 equals minus 1 equals k pi plus 1. So, I am going to take this. I see that all the three are equal because the given function is continuous. Because it is continuous. And the reason you are okay, it is given in the question. It is continuous. So, when I equate two of these, I am going to have minus 1 equals k pi plus 1. So, when I take minus 1 to the other side, I will have minus 2 equals k pi. So, I am going to have k equals minus 2 divided by pi. So, this is my value of k. Okay. Please copy. Question number 29. Find the value of k so that the function again is continuous at the given point. Okay. LHL equals RHL equals f of phi. Okay. So, this is my first step because it is given that it is continuous. Continuous at x is equal to phi. This is given in the question. So, adala dhaan nama pandrom. Ipo left hand limit enna? Limit x tends to phi minus of what is my value? The value that is marked here. And this is for my right hand limit. Okay, இப்போ purple என்ன value இருக்கு? Kx plus 1. When I substitute the value of the limit, I'm going to have k times phi plus 1. So, this is going to be phi k plus 1. So, this is left hand limit. What is my right hand limit? Right hand limit is going to be limit x tends to phi plus of value marked in pink. So, it is going to be 3x minus phi. So, I'm going to have 3 times phi minus phi. So, this is 15 minus phi, which is 10. If left hand limit, right hand limit. What is my f of x? F of x is going to be kx plus 1, the value that is marked in purple. And that's x less than or equal to 5. It is x less than or equal to 5. So I'm going to have f of x is equal to kx plus 5. So f of phi is going to be phi k plus 1. So if left hand limit equal to right hand limit equal to f of phi. So I'm going to have phi k plus 1 equals 10 equals 5k plus 1. So, I am going to take these two cases. So, I am going to have 5k plus 1 equals 10, 5k equals 9, k equals 9 divided by 5. So, this is my final answer. Please copy. Moving on to question number 30. So, in the it is given that I need to find the value of a and b such that the function is continuous at two different values. In the I see that I have a 2 and a 10. So, it is given that it is continuous at x is equal to 2 and it is continuous at x is equal to 10. So, this is what is given in the question. Continuous na kudukalanalo you have to interpret from the question. At which value it is continuous na rendu range kuduthirukku. So, I have to find the continuity at two different points. So, if first x is equal to 2. So, it is going to be left hand limit equal to right hand limit equal to f of 2. So, if first 2 condition papoma. So, left hand limit is going to be the value that is marked in pink. So, I am going to have limit x tends to 2 minus of f of x, which is going to be 5. Taking 5 outside the limit, I am going to have 5. So, this is my left hand limit for x is equal to 2. If a right hand limit enna? Right hand limit is going to be limit x tending to 2 plus of which value? 2 plus na, it is going to be ax plus b, the value that is marked in pink again. So, I am going to have ax plus b. If x is equal to 2, substitute panna, I am going to have a times 2 plus b, which is going to be 2a plus b. So, this is my right hand limit. If f of x and f of x is going to be 5, which means f of 2 is also going to be 5. The value is independent of the x, so f of 2 is also going to be 5. If a left hand limit equals right hand limit equals f of 2, now what is it going to be? I'm going to have 5 equals 2a plus b equals 5. So when I take one of these, I'm going to have 2a plus b equals 5. So this is equation number 1. So this is for x is equal to 2. If x is equal to 10, similar. So what is for x is equal to 10? I'll do it here. So for x is equal to 10, again the left hand limit equal to the right hand limit equal to f of 10 in this case. Correct? Now na purple la mark panna poren. So this is going to be my right hand limit and this is going to be my left hand limit. Correct? Now left hand limit is going to be limit x tends to 10 minus of f of x. The value that I just marked in purple is going to be ax plus b. When I substitute the value of 10, I'm going to have 10a plus b. So 10a plus b is my left hand limit. What is my right hand limit? Right hand limit is going to be limit x tends to 10 plus of 10 plus it is going to be 21. So when I take that outside the limit, I'm going to have 21. So this is my left hand limit and the right hand limit. F of x and f of x is going to be at 10, it is 21. So f of 10 is also going to be 21. So if a left hand limit equal to right hand limit equal to f of x. Now what is my equation going to be? It is going to be 21 equals 10a plus b equals 21. You see the values here? So the values here 10a plus b, 21 and 21. So this is my left hand limit, right hand limit and the f of c, and this is going to be for x is equal to 2, 5 and 5. Correct? If I have two different equations, do you see that? So here I have 10a plus b equal to 21. This is going to be my equation number 2. So when I compare equation 1 and equation 2, I can use elimination method to find the values of a and b. Rendu equation irukku. So I have 2a plus b equals 5, 10a plus b equals 21. I see that I have b and b. I'm going to subtract the entire equation. So ingium minus, ingium minus, ingium minus. So I'm going to have 2a minus 10a is going to be minus 8a. b minus b is going to be plus 0 equals, in the side 21 minus 5. So what is 21 minus 5? It is going to be minus 16. So what do I have? Minus 8a equals minus 16. a is equal to 2. So a oda value 2 nu kandupidichachu. What is my b going to be? Substituted in one of the equations. So I have 2a plus b equals 5. This is my first equation. a substitute panna enna agum? 2 times 2 plus b equals 5. b equals 5 minus 4. So the value of b is going to be 1. Okay. So this is my value of a and this is my value of b. Okay. Please copy. Rendu continuity cases kuduthirukanga. Continuous nu kuduthirukanga. So you have to apply the conditions that you know and just prove that they are equal and find the value of a and b. Okay. Question number 31. Show that the function defined by f of x is a continuous function. Okay, so what did we learn in our example questions? If you had watched my previous videos, உங்களுக்கு தெரியும். So example questionல நம்ம என்ன பார்த்தோம்? When you have two functions, g is continuous and h is continuous, then g of h is also continuous. Combination of functions படிச்சோம். ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? So if you have g is continuous and h is continuous, you have g of h. இது என்ன meaning? g of h. அப்படினா என்ன அர்த்தம்? g of x is continuous, h of x is continuous, which means g of h of x is also continuous. This is the representation. So இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல I have f of x is cos of x square. இதை எப்படி rewrite பண்ணலாம்? I can write it as g of x is equal to cos x and h of x is equal to x square. So what is my g of h of x? It is going to be g of x square, which is going to be cos x square. So I got my function back. So I am to prove I have to prove that my cos is a continuous function and x square is a continuous function. Correct? If cos nama continuous nu nariya cases la prove panniyachu. You remember? So what do I have? First case, g of c is equal to cos c paathachu. Limit kenna பண்ணுவோம்? Limit x tends to c of cos x. So first replacement equals c plus h, which means h is equal to x minus c. If x tends to c, h tends to 0. இது பண்ணுவோமா? So what is my limit? Limit x, sorry. If I change the limit, I'm going to have h tending to 0 of cos of c plus h. cos of a plus b என்ன வரும் limit h tends to 0 of cos a cos b plus sin a sin b sorry minus sin a sin b correct for cos it is going to be minus so it is going to be minus sin a sin b plus irundhuduna minus minus irundhuduna plus so when I apply the limit I'm going to have cos c cos 0 minus sin c sin 0 so this is going to be cos c this term is going to be a 0 sin 0 0 nu vandrum so இந்த இடத்துல என்ன இருக்கு cos c equals cos c so cos is a continuous function cos x is a continuous function similarly இப்போ x square வந்து continuous function னு prove பண்ணோம் so how do you prove that you have h of x is equal to x square so h of c is equal to c square first step முடிஞ்சது now what is my limit x tending to c of x square when I substitute the limit I'm going to have c square so I see that c square and the c square are equal so I'm going to have x square is a continuous function so இது ரெண்டுமே continuousனா என்ன அர்த்தம் I have g is continuous please write it completely g is continuous and h is continuous which means g of h of x is also continuous which means cos of x square is equal to f of x is a continuous function okay it is very very simple rendu function continuous nu prove பண்ணிட்டா the combination of that is also going to be continuous is a continuous function okay very simple the next 4 questions are going to be like this it is very very easy okay please copy or take a screenshot question number 32 show that the function defined by f of x is equal to இப்போ mod of cos x இந்த இடத்துல I have a modulus symbol அப்படினா என்ன அர்த்தம் what are my two different functions going to be so if my f of x is going to be mod of cos x I'm going to have g of x is going to be mod x and h of x is going to be cos x அப்பனா என்ன ஆகும் g of h of x is going to be g of cos x which is going to be mod cos x so you got back your function correct now I need to prove that mod x is continuous and cos x is continuous cos x continuous nu pona question liye prove பண்ணியாச்சு so it is a very similar step so cos x is continuous h of x is continuous proved in previous question proved in question 31 இப்போ mod x continuous னு prove பண்ணோம் we have also proved this in a lot of questions and example questions also but இந்த இடத்துல நான் ஒரு வாட்டி பண்றேன் please note it down so இப்போ g of x is equal to mod x so g of c is going to be mod c as simple as that okay இப்போ mod x எப்படி எழுதலாம் mod x can also be written as x when x is greater than 0 greater than or equal to 0 and minus x when x is less than 0 so this is my mod x so I have two different conditions I need to prove left hand limit is equal to right hand limit for the limit to be equal correct so இப்போ left hand limit என்ன limit x tends to 0 minus of f of x which is going to be limit x tends to 0 minus la enna irukku it is going to be minus x which is going to be 0 substitute panna I'm going to have 0 correct the value of x is equal to 0 so 0 substitute panna 0 vandrum what is my right hand limit x tends to 0 plus of f of x which is going to be limit x tends to 0 plus of positive x the f of x in this case is going to be positive x now so this is equal to I'll maybe mark it for you so I have x here and x here and I have minus x from this and minus x from this okay so this is also equal to 0 when I apply the limit so I have left hand limit equal to the right hand limit which is also equal to இப்போ இந்த இடத்துல 0 substitute பண்ணா என்ன ஆகும் mod of 0 is going to be 0 correct so it is also equal to f of 0 so it is continuous which is continuous g continuous function g of x is a continuous function so I have g is continuous h is continuous so g of h of x is continuous which means mod cos x which is our f of x is continuous okay as simple as that please copy Question number 33. It is very very similar to the previous question, but என்னென்ன ரெண்டு functions அந்த g யும் h யும் மட்டும் கரெக்டா choose பண்ணணும். You have to choose your g function and the h function appropriately to write. ஏன்னா g of h of x க்கு பதிலா h of g of x னு எழுதிட்டா the function is going to be wrong. So please write the interpretation correctly. அது எழுதிட்டா கரெக்டா it is going to be all right. Okay. So இப்போ 33ல என்ன இருக்கு? I have f of x is equal to sin of mod x. அப்படின்னா எப்படி functions எடுக்கணும்? My g of x is going to be sin x. My h of x is going to be mod x. எப்போமே the main function g னு எடுத்துக்கோங்க, secondary function h னு எடுத்துக்கோங்க. So if you cross check what you have, g of h of x is going to be g of mod x, which is going to be sin of x க்கு பதிலா I'm going to substitute mod x. So I've got back my function. So I have g of x is equal to sin x. இப்போ நம்ம cos x எப்படி prove பண்ணோமோ அதே மாதிரி தான் prove பண்ணணும். So I have first g of c is equal to sin c, and I have mod x போன questionலயே prove பண்ணியாச்சு. So this is continuous and we proved in the last question. So we'll just prove that sin x is continuous. So I have limit x tends to c of sin x, substitution x is equal to c plus h is equal to x minus c. If x tends to c, h tends to 0. அப்ப எப்படி மாறும்? Limit h tends to 0 of sin of c plus h is going to be, in the formula என்ன? Limit h tends to 0 of sin a cos b, இதெல்லாம் by heart தெரியணும், plus cos a sin b. So when I substitute the value of the limit, I'm going to have sin c cos 0 plus cos c sin 0. So this term is going to go off. So I'm going to have sin c. So இந்த இடத்துலயும் sin c இருக்கு, இந்த இடத்துலயும் sin c இருக்கு. So I see that my limits are equal. Limit 2 and the function is equal. So sin x is a continuous function. So இப்போ final answer எப்படி எழுதணும்? How do you write the final answer? So I have g is continuous, h is continuous, which means g of h of x is also continuous. So sin of mod x, sin of mod x, which is our f of x, is continuous. Okay, hence proved. Very very simple questions idella. Okay, please don't make mistakes in your exam. Please copy. Last and the final question of the exercise, question number 34. Find all the points of discontinuity of f defined by f of x is equal to mod x plus mod of x plus 1. Okay, இப்போ ரெண்டு function இருக்கு. I do not have combination of function, but I have difference of functions. So f of x is equal to mod x minus mod of x plus 1. So this I can rewrite it as function g minus h. So g of x is going to be mod x and h of x is going to be mod of x plus 1. Okay, so இப்போ mod x வந்து continuous னு நம்ம already prove பண்ணியாச்சு. இப்போ mod of x plus 1 prove பண்ணலாமா? So I have h of x is going to be x plus 1 ஓட mod. So I have h of c is going to be mod of c plus 1. Okay, this is my h of c. So first I need to prove that h of x is continuous, correct? So அப்ப இந்த இடத்துல first x plus 1 எப்படி எழுதலாம்? So I have, it is going to be simply x plus 1 when x is greater than or equal to minus 1. Do you agree? So how am I writing this? For mod x, what did you see? X when x is greater than or equal to 0 and minus x when x is less than 0. இது பார்த்தோமா, இது எப்படி எழுதுறோம் நம்ம? You have mod x na, it is basically x minus 0. So whenever you have a number line, you have the point 0. To the right of 0, you're going to have positive x. To the left of 0, you're going to have negative x. But when it comes to x plus 1, so if x plus 1 in varuduna, what is your value of x? It is going to be minus 1. So in your number line, whenever you take the value of minus 1, the values to the right of minus 1 is going to be positive, which is x plus 1. And to the left of minus 1, it is going to be x plus 1 order negation. Here, how do you have minus of x? X order negation. So here you're going to have the negation of x plus 1. Okay, so how is your condition going to look like? Your condition will look like this. So when I erase this part, I'll have minus of x plus 1 when x is less than minus 1. Do you understand how we get it? Okay, now I have two different functions for mod of x plus 1. இப்போ இது வந்து continuous னு prove பண்ணணும். How do I prove that it is continuous? First case, c less than minus 1 க்கு prove பண்ணணும். So I'm going to have my h இது. Okay, so this I'll take it as h. So I'm going to have h of x is going to be minus of x plus 1. So h of c is going to be minus of c plus 1. So h of x எழுதியாச்சு, h of c எழுதியாச்சு. Now the limit x tends to c of h of x is going to be limit x tends to c of h of x and minus of x plus 1. When I apply the limit, I'm going to have minus of c plus 1. So I see that this value is equal to this value. So it is continuous for c less than 1. For c less than minus 1. இப்போ c greater than minus 1 பார்க்கலாமா? So for c greater than minus 1, I'm going to have h of x to be x plus 1. So h of c is going to be c plus 1. இப்போ limit apply பண்ணா என்ன ஆகும்? Limit x tends to c of h of x is going to be limit x tends to c of x plus 1. When I apply the limit, I'm going to have c plus 1. So இந்த இடத்துலையுமே I see that the values are equal. C plus 1 and c plus 1. So it is continuous for c greater than minus 1. So continuous for c greater than minus 1. So for both the cases we have proved. Now I need to prove for c equal to minus 1. ஏன்னா எல்லா கேசஸும் prove பண்ணோம் இல்லையா? So c equal to minus 1 na I have to take both my left hand limit and the right hand limit. First of all, what is my f of x? My f of x is going to be equal to la what case do I have to take? I have to take this one. So x plus 1 எடுக்கணும். So f of x is going to be x plus 1. So f of c is going to be c plus 1. F of x and f of c எழுதியாச்சு. What is my left hand limit? Left hand limit is going to be limit x tends to minus 1 minus. Minus 1 is the value and the minus on top of that is the left hand limit of f of x is going to be limit x tends to 1 minus of left hand side எப்படி இருக்க போகுது? It is going to be minus of x plus 1. So this is equal to, when I substitute the value of the limit, I'm going to have 1 plus 1. So this is minus 2. So left hand limit minus 2. What is my right hand limit? In the இடத்துலையும் c க்கு value substitute பண்ணா what will I have? F of minus 1 is minus 1 plus 1 0. Okay, minus 1 plus 1 is a 0. So in the இடத்துல, sorry, this is a minus 1. Minus 1 minus. So when I have minus, this is also going to be 0. Minus 0, which is going to be a 0. And what is my right hand limit? Limit x tends to minus 1 plus of f of x, which is going to be limit x tends to minus 1 plus of x plus 1. In the இடத்துல positive x plus 1. So I'm going to have minus 1 plus 1, which is going to be 0. Minus 1 plus 1, 0. So in the இடத்துல என்ன தெரியுது? I have f of c is a 0, left hand limit is a 0 and the right hand limit is a 0. So it is continuous at x is equal to minus 1. So the entire given function is also continuous. So mod of x plus 1, which is my h of x, is continuous. So final answer எப்படி எழுதணும்? g is continuous, h is continuous, which means f of x, which is g of x minus h of x, is also continuous. Okay, this is how you write your final answer. Please copy or take a screenshot. So with this, we are done with exercise 5.1 and continuity. இதுக்கப்புறம் differentiability பார்க்கலாம். Okay, see you, bye. Hi, hello, welcome back to Math&Me with me, Nikhila Shankar. So இப்போ வந்து in this video, we are going to learn about differentiability. So we have finished what continuity is. இதுக்கப்புறம் differentiability is our new concept. So the first derivatives-லயே வந்து என்ன பார்க்க போறோம்னா derivatives of composite functions. First, differentiability na enna? You have to check if your given function is differentiable or not. Correct? So இப்போ differentiable ku I'll tell you இது first. So I'm going to teach you this one first. So if the function is differentiable, it means that the left hand limit is equal to the right hand limit. அப்படினா என்ன அர்த்தம்? எந்த limit? You have to see that your left hand limit, which is f of c plus h, and your right hand limit is going to be f of c plus h minus f of c. அதே தான். So the only difference is that here you have h tending to 0 minus and here you have h tending to 0 plus. So differentiable na என்ன அர்த்தம்? இது ரெண்டுமே equal and finite the value has to be finite. You cannot have 0 in the denominator, correct? So this is your general way of representing that the given function is differentiable. So this you will not see in your example questions, but exercise question la kadasi 2 questions you are going to deal with this particular formula. So now what is theorem 3? Theorem 3 says that if a function is differentiable at point C, so a function, if it is differentiable at the point C, then it is also continuous at that point. Differentiable irundhuduna continuous avum irukum solranga. Okay, so this how do you prove? You have limit x tending to c of f of x minus f of c gives you f dash of c. F dash of c is going to be your derivative. Okay, so derivative eppadi kandupidikano? Limit x tends to c of f of x, first given function அப்படியே எடுத்துக்கணும். Then you have to take f of c, the value that you have to prove, divided by x minus c. Okay, so இது பண்ணா you'll get the derivative of your given function. This is theorem 3. Okay, what is your theorem 4? Theorem 4 says that if f is a real valued function which is a composite of two functions u and v. இப்போ ரெண்டு function இருக்கு, ஒரே function. For example, I'll give you an example. So you have cos of x square. So basically, how does your cos function look? It looks like this. You have cos x. இப்போ x liye you have x square. So it means that you have function inside a function. நம்ம continuity la பார்த்தோம் இல்லையா? To prove that the given function is continuous, na function of function g of h of x is also continuous if g is continuous and h is continuous. அந்த மாதிரி. So when you have function of function inside a function, so you have composite functions. This is what we are talking about. Composite functions na ஒண்ணுக்குள்ள ஒண்ணு இருக்கு. So cos x எப்படி நம்ம பார்ப்போம்? Simply cos x. So here instead of x you are having x square. So you have two different functions. So you have function u and function v, which means function v of u. So இந்த இடத்துல v of u இருக்கா? So suppose t is equal to u of x. So ஒரு function t ன்னு எடுத்துக்க போறோம். இன்னொரு function we are going to take it as v. Okay, so the v is going to be just like that and u of x is going to be t. So which means you can split df of dx is equal to dv by dt times dt by dx nu split பண்ணலாம். Okay, so this you will understand when we are solving one example, but in the method is very very complicated when we are dealing with very very big questions. ரொம்ப லாங்கா function of function questions பார்க்கும்போது this method is going to be very very confusing. So we'll avoid this method, but I'll teach you with only one particular example. Okay, so இப்போ now moving on to example questions. அதுக்கு முன்னாடி we'll just see the derivatives. Function and its derivatives. Sin x ஒரு derivative என்ன? We have learned this in limits and derivatives class 11. Correct? Sin x or a derivative enna? It is going to be cos x. Sin x or a derivative is going to be cos x. Cos x or a derivative enna? Minus sin x. Tan x or a derivative is going to be secant square x. Cot x or a derivative is minus cosecant square x. Cosecant or x, cosecant or a derivative, cosecant x, cot x with a minus sign. Secant x or a derivative is going to be secant x, tan x. These are some basic functions and their derivatives that you need to know. Okay, definitely தெரிஞ்சிருக்கணும். And root x or a derivative is going to be 1 divided by 2 root x. E to the x or a derivative என்ன? E to the x தான். Now you have a function which is in terms of product u times v இருக்கு. You have two different functions which is in terms of product u and v formல இருக்கு. அப்ப அதோட derivative எப்படி இருக்கும்? It is going to be v u dash plus u v dash. Okay, all this you learned in your limits and derivatives. I'm just revising. Okay, u divided by v la eppadi irukapodhu? V u dash minus u v dash divided by v square. Okay, and x to the n eppadi irukapodhu? N x to the n minus 1. Log x or a derivative is going to be 1 divided by x. So these are some basic derivatives that you need to know. Okay, so please take a screenshot or copy them. Now moving on to example 21. Find the derivative of the function given by f of x is equal to sin of x square. So in இடத்துல என்ன இருக்கு? You see that I have sin x is one function and x square is another function. Correct? ரெண்டு function இருக்கு. So what did we learn in this formula? So here you have df divided by dx is going to be dv divided by dt times dt divided by dx. இதை எப்படி நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ண போறோம் இந்த இடத்துல பார்க்க போறோம். So here I'm going to take my t to be x square. So x square na t எடுத்துக்க போறேன். The function that is inside sin x, I'm going to take it as t. So how will my sin x change? I'm going to take this as v of t is sin x. இப்படி எடுத்துக்க போறேன். Why am I doing that? What is v of t na? It is going to be x square, which is going to be sin x square. So I'm getting back my function. Correct? So basically v of t is my f of x. Okay, now how am I going to differentiate this? I need to find df divided by dx. I need to differentiate the given f of x with respect to x. So I'm going to find df divided by dx, and according to the formula, what am I going to do? Df divided by dx is dv by dt times dt by dx. So I'm going to write that dv by dt times dt divided by dx. You have to be very careful on choosing which is your t and which is your v. Okay, adha mathi choose panta answer thappa vandrum. So we need to find what my dv by dt is. So dv by dt enna? V of t is sin x. So what is my dv divided by dt with respect to t enna varum? I'm going to have cos t. So in that instead of x I'm going to have t, correct? My variable is a t here, not x. So it is going to be sin t. So I'm going to have cos t. The derivative of sin t is going to be cos t. So I found what my dv by dt is. Now dt by dx kandupidikkanum. What is my t? It is going to be x square. So I'm going to have dt divided by dx. I'm going to differentiate x square. And now the 2 will come down. The power will be reduced by 1. So I'm going to have 2x. Derivative of x square is going to be 2x. So according to the formula, what am I going to do? Df divided by dx is equal to dv by dt, which is cos t times 2 times x. dt by dx and 2 times x. Now you need to again substitute. What is your t? T is equal to x square. In that t irka, so adukku substitute panna enagum. It is going to be cos of x square times 2x. So as you see, this is going to be 2x times cos of x square. You see that this method is very long and confusing. Romba easy ana question adha potu confuse panni vechirukanga. So this easy method la eppadi solve panna porom? This is by applying the formula that you learnt in your first slide. So ipo indha edathila I'm simply going to use function of function oda derivatives. You learned this also in your limits and derivatives chapter, class 11. So f of x is equal to sin of x square kuduthirukku. Okay, my f of x is equal to sin x square. So df divided by dx is equal to sin x or a derivative enna? Cos x. What is my x in this case? X square. But you see that the bracket kulla irukra term is not simply x, it is some x square. So you have to differentiate that also, the one that is inside the bracket. So d by dx of x square, either simplify panna enagum? Cos of x square times 2x. D by dx of x square is going to be 2x. So this is simply 2x times cos of x square. So you finished this question in just 2 steps. This is your answer and this is your answer using the formula. So in that direct நம்ம தெரிஞ்ச derivatives use பண்ணாலே ஈஸியா போட்டுடலாம். Functions of functions or derivatives. So I'm not going to use the first method in the rest of the questions because it is very long and complicated and very confusing also. So I prefer you also use the second method. Okay, but know the first method also. First method தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும். So this is my first method. And this is my second method. Okay, please copy. Now, example 22. Okay, now how do you find the derivative of this? Tan or the derivative enna? First, nama general forms edhikalam. D divided by dx of tan theta is going to be secant square theta. Inge theta enna? Theta is going to be 2x plus 3. Appa in the 2x plus 3 taniya differentiate pannuma. So what is the derivative of that? D by dx of 2x plus 3 is going to be 2x or a derivative is 2 plus 3 or a derivative 0. 3 is a constant, so the derivative of a constant is going to be 0. So if d by dx of idhum kandupidichachu. Now let me find the derivative. So I have f of x to be tan of 2x plus 3. So df divided by dx. Differentiating f with respect to x. Variable romba mukkiyam. Variable of differentiation is very important. Tan x or a derivative is going to be secant square theta. What is my theta in this case? 2x plus 3. But this is not simply theta, so idhiyum differentiate pannom. This is what we did, correct? So d by dx of 2x plus 3, which you already found out here, but I'll write this step also. So I have secant square of 2x plus 3 times, either a derivative is simply 2. So my final answer is 2 secant square 2x plus 3. Okay, very simple. Please copy. Example 23. Now I have 3 different functions. Sin of, cos of, x square. First individual terms ku nama edhilama. So derivatives of d by dx of sin theta is going to be cos theta. t by dx of cos theta is going to be minus sin theta. We are talking about theta here, correct? So theta vache edhilam. So here I have theta. d by dx of sin theta cos theta, d by dx of cos theta is going to be minus sin theta. இப்போ derivative கண்டுபிடிக்கலாமா? So I have f of x to be sin of cos of x square. So ஒரு function பண்ணலாம். First I have sin. The derivative of sin is cos. So cos of, what is my theta? Cos of x square. So இந்த term அப்படியே உள்ள எழுதினோம். Okay. So this, I am writing it inside this. Now I have இதோட derivative கண்டுபிடிக்கணும். So I need to find d by dx of cos of x square. Close the bracket. So in the term, we have already found the derivative. Just keep it like that. So this term is done. இப்போ d by dx of cos of x square. So cos or derivative என்ன? It is going to be minus sin. Always open a bracket. So sin of what is inside the bracket? It is x square. இப்போ இந்த term முடிஞ்சது. Now I need d by dx of x square. The term that is inside. Correct? First we did sin theta, then we are going to do cos theta, now we are going to do the x square. So இது என்னாகும்? cos of x square, the first term remains like that. Second term என்ன? minus sin of x square. இது எல்லாமே multiplication. அதனால தான் minus bracketல போடணும். இல்லாட்டி cos theta minus sin theta மாதிரி ஆயிடும். d by dx of x square is going to be 2x. So what is my final answer? I have a minus here, so I have minus in the 2x. 2x times cos of x square times sin of x square. This is my final answer. Okay, very very simple. Please copy. Now moving on to exercise 5.2. இதுவுமே அதே cases தான். So I'm going to solve each and every question. So differentiate the functions with respect to x in exercise 1 to 8. So இப்போ first question என்ன? Let me solve each and every question. So first question, f of x is sin of x square plus 5. So df by dx is going to be sin or derivative என்ன? Cos of theta, which is x square plus 5 in this case. I need to do d by dx of the term that is inside. So d by dx of x square plus 5 என்ன? 2x plus 0. So what is my derivative? What is my final answer? 2x times cos of x square plus 5. Very very simple. Please watch my previous video for example questions. Okay. Previously I had solved examples. So adula innum detail ah potiruken. In that it is quite simple. Okay. Now second question, f of x is cos of sin x. So df divided by dx is going to be cos or derivative is minus sin theta, and what is my theta? Sin x. இப்போ d by dx of sin x பண்ணணும். Sin x or derivative என்ன? Cos x. So it is going to be minus sin of sin x, which is the first term. Second term என்ன? Cos x. The derivative of sin x is going to be cos x. This is my final answer. Okay, final answer மட்டும் highlight பண்ணிடுங்க. So this is my final answer. Now third question, sin of ax plus b. So, third question, f of x is equal to sin of ax plus b. These are all very very straightforward questions that you learnt in your 11th standard. Sin or derivative? Cos. The theta is ax plus b in this case. Now the derivative of ax plus b. So d by dx of ax plus b. Ax plus b or derivative enna? Simply a. So I take the a outside. I'm going to have cos of ax plus b. So this is my final answer. Okay. Please copy the first 3 questions. Next, fourth question. Fourth question is also very very simple. Secant x or derivative enna? First d by dx of secant theta is going to be secant theta tan theta. Correct? So the derivative of secant theta is going to be secant theta tan theta. Let me just move this to the left little bit. Theta get on la. Okay. Now secant theta tan theta. Appuram tan theta or derivative enna? D by dx of tan theta is going to be secant square theta. இப்போ இது derivative கண்டுபிடிக்கலாமா? So I have df divided by dx is secant theta or derivative என்ன? Secant theta tan theta. So it is going to be secant theta, which is tan of root x times tan of root x. புரிஞ்சுதா? So this is secant theta times tan theta. This is my derivative of secant theta. Okay, secant theta or derivative பண்ணியாச்சு. இப்போ bracket குள்ள என்ன term இருக்கு? Bracket குள்ள I'm having tan of root x. இப்போ அதோட derivative கண்டுபிடிக்கணுமா? So I have the derivative of d by dx of tan root x. Okay, so now this is going to be secant of tan root x, tan of tan root x times d by dx of tan theta. Tan theta derivative secant square theta. So I'm going to have secant square theta and root x. Now I need to do d by dx of root x again. Function of function of function. Three different functions irukku. First secant theta derivative, then tan theta derivative, now root x derivative. So what is my final answer going to be? Secant of tan root x, tan of tan root x times secant square root x times root x derivative is going to be d by dx of root x. So d by dx of root x is going to be 1 divided by 2 root x. So the denominator la vandruma, so I'll have divided by 2 root x. So this is my final answer. Okay, very simple. Please copy. Question number 5. Sin ax plus b divided by cos of cx plus d. So in the இடத்துல first என்ன இருக்கு? So this is of the form u divided by v. Correct? So first division la இருக்குனா அதோட derivative என்ன? vu dash minus uv dash divided by v square. So இப்போ df divided by dx is going to be vu dash. V என்னது? This is my v. So it is going to be simply cos of cx plus d times u dash. So it is going to be d divided by dx of u another. It is going to be sin of ax plus b minus uv dash. So another sin of ax plus b is my u times v dash. So it is going to be d divided by dx of cos of cx plus d. Correct? So this is going to be my v dash, d by dx of the denominator, the whole divided by v square, which is cos of cx plus d the whole square. இப்போ ஒரு term differentiate பண்ணலாமா? So what is my numerator going to be? Cos of cx plus d அப்படியே இருக்கும். d by dx of sin theta. Sin theta derivative என்ன? It is going to be cos theta. What is my theta? ax plus b. But my theta is not simply theta. ax plus b இருக்கா? So I need to find the derivative of that also. So d by dx of ax plus b minus இந்த term முடிஞ்சது. So always put a bracket. So இதுக்கு ஒரு curly bracket போட்டுறலாம். I'm going to open a new curly bracket for the next term. So இந்த இடத்துல என்ன இருக்கு? Sin of ax plus b d by dx of cos theta. So it is going to be minus sin of theta, which is cx plus d, and I need to do d by dx of cx plus d. Correct? Now I'm going to close the entire bracket. Now divided by, don't forget the denominator. So I have cos of cx plus d the whole square. இப்போ இந்த step என்ன ஆக போகுது? Cos of cx plus d times, I open the bracket. இதோட derivative என்ன? The derivative of this is going to be simply a, and the derivative of this is simply going to be c. b is a constant and d is a constant. So the derivative of a constant is going to be 0. So I have cos of ax plus b times a, so this term is done, minus sin of ax plus b. You see that I have a minus here. You see that I have a minus here and I have a minus here. So the minus into minus is going to become a plus when I take it outside the bracket. So here it becomes a plus. I have sin of ax plus b. Then the remaining terms are sin of cx plus d times c. இதோட derivative. The derivative of cx plus d is simply going to be c divided by the denominator. Don't forget the denominator. Cos of cx plus d the whole square. Okay, always mention the whole square. இந்த இடத்துல இந்த மாதிரி எழுதாதீங்க. Mention whole square. So this is for the entire denominator. So the whole square. So what is my final answer? It is going to be, இந்த இடத்துல a வ காமனா எடுக்க போறேன். So I have a cos cx plus d cos ax plus b plus c times sin ax plus b times sin cx plus d the whole divided by cos of cx plus d the whole square. Okay, so this is my final answer. Please copy. So என்ன பண்ணிருக்கோம் basically what is your understanding? You have u divided by v, so it is of the form vu dash minus uv dash divided by v square. V என்னது? It is cos of cx plus d and u is your sin of ax plus b. So first v எழுதியாச்சு. This is my v and you have u dash. So this is my u dash d by dx of இது. Then I again have u. So it is going to be sin of ax plus b. Then I again have v dash which is going to be d by dx of cos of cx plus d divided by v square cos of cx plus d the whole square. இப்போ next step la I am going to find the derivative of each and every term. So இந்த இடத்துல sin x ஓட derivative is going to be cos and I do not have simply cos, so I need to find the d by dx of ax plus b. So இந்த இடத்துலயுமே I have a cos marked in purple. So I have sin of cx plus d which is going to be cx plus d. Okay, so in the next step derivative பண்ணிட்டே வந்தா I am going to get my final answer. Okay, be very careful when you are doing the derivatives. Functions full of functions இருக்கும்போது be very very careful. Okay, so this is your final answer. Okay, moving on to sixth question. இப்போ sixth questionல என்ன இருக்கு? You have a product. போன questionல you had division, here you have product. So productல என்ன பண்ணோம்? u v ஓட derivative என்ன? v u dash plus uv dash, no denominator and no minus sign. So இப்போ இதோட df by dx என்ன? This is my f of x. So I have v u dash. So this is my u and this is my v. So இப்போ first uv என்னன்னு எழுதிக்கலாமா? So I have u to be, we'll find the derivative later. We'll do the substitution later. So first I'm going to write u is equal to cos of x cube and v is equal to sin square x to the power 5. In the terms complicated இருக்கு. So first u என்ன v என்னன்னு எழுதிக்கலாம். So I have du divided by dx, or I can also write this as u dash. So what is my u dash? Cos or derivative is going to be minus sin of, what is my theta? X cube. I need to find my d by dx of x cube also. So what is d by dx of x cube? Times 3x square. You agree? I'll just move this aside. So I have 3x square. So what is it going to be? Minus 3x square times sin of x cube. So this is my derivative of cos of x cube. இப்போ v ஓட derivative கண்டுபிடிக்கலாமா? So what is v ஓட derivative? It is going to be, I'll bring it here. So I have v dash is going to be, I can rewrite v as sin of x to the power 5 the whole square. Correct? So first this is of the form x to the n, so n x to the n minus 1. The power comes down and the power becomes minus 1. So I have 2 times sin of x to the power 5 and to the power 1 times sin or derivative enna? Cos. So cos of x to the power 5. Then x to the power 5 or derivative enna? It is going to be 5x to the 4. Clear? So this is a chain reaction mari. Chain derivative கண்டுபிடிச்சிட்டே வரணும். So what is my final answer? இந்த இடத்துல 5 இருக்கு, இந்த இடத்துல 2 இருக்கு. So 5 2s are 10 times x to the power 4, இந்த x to the power 4. Then I have sin x to the power 5 cos x to the power 5. So this is my v dash. So I found out what my u dash is and what my v dash is. இப்போ simply substitute பண்ண வேண்டியதான். So I have df divided by dx is going to be v u dash. V என்ன? It is sin square x to the power 5 times u dash. U dash and it is going to be minus 3x square sin of x cube plus u v dash. What is my u? It is going to be cos x cube times v dash. V dash and 10x to the 4. I'll write it in the next line. Sin x to the power 5 cos x to the power 5. Okay. So this, when I simplify, what will I get? இந்த இடத்துல minus 3 இருக்கு. I'll take the minus 3 outside. I have sin square x to the power 5 sin of x cube plus, what are my constants here? 10, then x to the power 4 times sin x to the power 5 cos x to the power 5 times cos of x cube. So this is my final answer. Please copy. Question number 7. So in the இடத்துல it is not, the square root is a separate term and this is multiplied by 2. Okay, so this is 2 root x அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கு. It is not the square root of x. The 2 does not depict the square root. Okay, please understand that. So இப்போ இங்க என்னென்ன termsலாம் இருக்கு? I have a root x term. So root x ஓட derivative என்ன? d by dx of root x is going to be 1 divided by 2 root x. So 1 divided by 2 root x, and I have cot x. So what is my derivative of cot x? D by dx of cot x is going to be minus cosecant square x. So this is my derivative of cot x. அதுக்கப்புறம் உள்ள x square term இருக்கு. So now I need to differentiate each and every term. So this is my f of x. So what is my df divided by dx? It is going to be 2 times, 2 is a constant, times d by dx of square root term. So square root of cot of x square equal to 2 times d by dx of root x, and it is going to be 1 divided by 2 root x. What is my x here? Cot of x square. But inside the root function, I do not have simply x. In the இடத்துல ஒரு cot function இருக்கா? So I need to differentiate the cot that I have here. So it is d by dx of the cot function, cot of x square. What is my next step? The 2 and the 2 is going to get cancelled. 2 and the 2 will get cancelled. So I have 1 divided by square root of cot of x square times d by dx of cot x. Cot x or derivative and minus cosecant square x. So it is going to be, put a bracket, minus cosecant square x. What is my x in this case? X square. இப்போ d by dx of x square பண்ணணும். So d by dx of x square. So what am I left with? Minus cosecant square x square inside the cosecant function divided by square root of cot of x square times d by dx of x square, and it is simply going to be 2x. Put it inside a bracket. So what is my final answer? Minus 2x times cosecant square x square, the whole divided by square root of cot of x square. So this is my final answer. Okay, please copy. Question number 8. This is also very easy. So இப்போ இங்க என்னென்ன functions இருக்கு? Cos இருக்கு, root x இருக்கு. So only 2 different functions. So I have df divided by dx is going to be d by dx of cos of root x. So first d by dx of cos, and cos or derivative is sin x, which is sin of root x, then d by dx of root x again. So what is my derivative of root x? It is going to be, the first term remains the same, sin of root x times 1 divided by 2 root x. In the root x in the root x cancel பண்ணிடாதீங்க. Okay, this is inside the sin and this is a separate term. Okay, please understand that. Now I have minus sin of root x divided by 2 root x. So this is my final answer. Okay, please copy. Moving on to question number 9. Prove that the function f is given by f of x is equal to mod of x minus 1 is not differentiable at x is equal to 1. Not differentiable nu கேக்குறாங்க. So what did we learn? So when you watch the previous slides, so இந்த இடத்துல என்ன பார்த்தோம்? Here we saw that the left hand limit should be equal to the right hand limit. ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? So இந்த இடத்துல we saw that the left hand limit should be equal to the right hand limit. You see the cursor? So we need to use this to prove the particular question. இப்போ question number 9 நம்ம இதை யூஸ் பண்ணி தான் prove பண்ண போறோம். Okay? Now moving on to question number 9. I need to prove that it is not differentiable. அப்போ first step என்ன? The left hand limit, which is going to be limit h tends to 0 minus of f of c plus h minus f of c, the whole divided by h. And what is my right hand limit? Limit h tends to 0 plus of f of c plus h minus f of c, the whole divided by h. இந்த இடத்துல c என்ன? c is going to be 1 because x is equal to 1. Correct? So c oda value is going to be 1. So how does my left hand limit look like? Limit h tends to 0 minus of f of 1 plus h minus f of 1 divided by h. So this is my c. c oda value substitute பண்ணோம். Correct? Here limit h tends to 0 plus of f of 1 plus h minus f of 1, the whole divided by h. Correct? Now let me do my left hand limit first. So this is my left hand limit and this is my right hand limit. So first left hand limit பண்ணா என்னாகும்? I'm going to take my function f of 1 plus h. இந்த இடத்துல function என்ன first? My f of x is going to be mod of x minus 1. So wherever I have x, I'm going to replace that with 1 plus h and 1. So how does my left hand limit look like? Limit h tends to 0 minus of f of 1 plus h, which is going to be mod of x க்கு பதிலா 1 plus h minus 1. You understand? I have, instead of h, I'm going to write 1 plus h, and instead of the 1, I'm going to write 1 itself. Purida? Now, minus f of 1 and x க்கு 1 substitute பண்ணணும். So, mod of 1 minus 1, the whole divided by h. So, this is going to be my left hand limit. இப்போ right hand limit எப்படி இருக்க போகுது? I'll do it simultaneously so that you understand. Right hand limit is going to be limit h tends to 0 plus, இந்த இடத்துல 0 minus, இந்த இடத்துல 0 plus of f of 1 plus h, which is again going to be 1 plus h minus 1 minus 1 minus 1, the whole divided by h. இப்போ left hand limit க்கும் right hand limit க்கும் என்ன difference? You see that here the function is almost the same. So இந்த இடத்துலயுமே we are having 1 plus h minus 1, and also here you are having 1 plus h minus 1. So the entire term is the same. இந்த இடத்துல வெறும் here we have a left hand limit and here you have a right hand limit. இந்த இடத்துல minus இருக்கு, இந்த இடத்துல plus இருக்கு. So that is the only difference. Correct? So how do you do this? Limit h tends to 0 minus of 1 minus 1 0. So I'll have mod h minus 0. 1 minus 1 is also a 0 divided by h. And here I'll have limit h tends to 0 plus of again mod h minus 0 divided by h. In the இடத்துல minus 1 and the minus 1 is getting cancelled. Minus 1 and minus 1 is getting cancelled. So what am I left with? In the இடத்துல h is tending to 0 minus, which means h is less than 0. Here it is tending to 0 plus, which means h is greater than 0. You see that? So h is less than 0 na mod function எப்படி இருக்க போகுது? Mod h is nothing but h when h is less than 0. Sorry, minus h when h is less than 0, and h when h is greater than 0. Positive h and negative h. Correct? So left hand limit என்ன ஆக போகுது? Limit h tends to 0 minus of mod h is going to become minus h divided by denominator la h. Right hand limit is going to become limit h tends to 0 plus of plus h divided by h. So in that h and the h is going to get cancelled. I'm going to have minus 1. H and the h is going to get cancelled. I'm going to have 1. So in that left hand limit is equal to minus 1 and right hand limit is equal to plus 1. So you see that left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. So it means it is not continuous. Not continuous and not differentiable. Not continuous and also not differentiable. Okay. So this is how you write your final answer. If it is continuous, it is differentiable. If it is not continuous, it is not differentiable. Okay. Please copy or take a screenshot. Question number 10. Prove that the greatest integer function defined by f of x is equal to gif of x. In the function நம்ம நிறைய வாட்டி பார்த்திருக்கோம். So gif of x can be represented in two different ways. எப்படி represent பண்ணலாம்? First gif of x is nothing but x plus r without the gif. X plus r if we are dealing with the right hand limit, and it is going to be simply x if you are dealing with left hand limit. Correct? Add ஆகும் இல்லாட்டி subtract ஆயிடும். So these are your GIF function which you have learnt in your example question. Please watch my previous videos so you will know that. So prove that the greatest integer function is not differentiable at x is equal to 1 and 2. இப்போ ரெண்டு value இருக்கு. You have c value to be 1 and you have c value to be 2. So you have to prove for two different values. So இப்போ c equal to 1 பண்ணலாமா? So again similarly left hand limit, right hand limit. I'll do it simultaneously. So what do I have? Limit h tends to 0 minus of f of c plus h minus f of c divided by h. இந்த இடத்துல limit h tends to 0 plus of f of c plus h minus f of c divided by h. இந்த இடத்துல c ஓட value என்ன? I'm going to substitute 1. So limit h tends to 0 minus of f of 1 plus h minus f of 1 divided by h. Limit h tends to 0 plus of f of 1 plus h minus f of 1 divided by h. இப்போ f of 1 plus h substitute பண்ண போறேன் to the function. So I have limit h tends to 0 minus of gif of x. X க்கு பதிலா I'm going to substitute 1 plus h. So I have 1 plus h minus 1 the whole divided by h. In that I'm going to have limit h tends to 0 plus of again 1 plus h minus 1 divided by h. இப்போ 1 plus h இருக்கு. Left hand limit க்கும் right hand limit க்கும் என்ன difference? If h is tending to 0 minus, so 0 is over here. 0 minus na the value which are very very close to 0 but to the left of 0. 0 plus na என்ன அர்த்தம்? Values which are very very close to 0 but to the right of 0. அப்ப ரெண்டுத்துக்கும் என்ன difference? When you have 1 plus h where h is some value which is less than 0, and here you have 1 plus h where h is some value greater than 0. So I have 1 plus some value which is greater than 0 na indha edathila gif enava irukapodhu. So what do you see here? When you have value of 1 plus some number, so my value is going to be 1. Illati indha edathila 1 க்கு கீழ value இருந்ததுனா my value is going to be 0. You see that? So this is my GIF function oda graph. So what happens to my left hand limit? My left hand limit is some value which is 1 plus h. தெரியுதா? So இந்த இடத்துல என்ன value இருக்கு? I have 1 plus h where h is less than 0. H is less than 0 now I am going to have the value of 0. Here I have 1 plus h and I have the value which is h is greater than 0. H is greater than 0 now 1 plus 0 is going to be some number which is greater than 1. So அப்ப என்ன value எடுக்க போகுது? It is going to take the value 1. So இந்த இடத்துல the value it is going to take, here the value it is going to take is 0 and here the value it is going to take is 1. Clear? What happens to my left hand limit? Limit h tends to 0 minus of 0 minus GIF of 1 and 1 oda value is going to be 1 itself. You see here 1 oda value is going to be 1 itself. So 0 minus 1 divided by h. Right hand limit enna agum? Limit h tends to 0 plus of 1 minus 1 divided by h. Inga enna value varudhu? It is going to be minus 1 divided by h and here I have 0 divided by h. I see that the two values do not match. So left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. So not differentiable at x is equal to 1. Okay. So this will be infinity and this will be 0. 0 infinity 1 kadayadu. So your final answer is going to be not differentiable. So this is for x is equal to 1 case. So first idu eludunga, then ipo next I'll solve for x is equal to 2 also, you will understand. Okay, so this is for x is equal to 1. Okay, please take a screenshot. Now what is going to happen for x is equal to 2? So in that I have my GIF graph. So x is equal to 2 la I'm again going to use my formula for left hand limit and right hand limit. Ipo left hand limit enna? It is going to be limit h tends to 0 minus of f of c plus h. In that c oda value enna? 2. So it is going to be f of 2 plus h minus f of 2 divided by h. And what is going to be my right hand limit? Right hand limit is limit h tends to 0 plus of f of 2 plus h minus f of 2 divided by h. Ipo simultaneous potte varalama. So my f of x enna? F of x is going to be GIF of x. So when I substitute the left hand and the right hand limit, I'm going to have h tends to 0 minus of 2 plus h minus GIF of 2 divided by h. In that line limit h tends to 0 plus of 2 plus h minus 2 divided by h. What is the only difference? H tends to 0 minus, which means h is less than 0. So 2 plus h, some value which is less than 0 is going to be less than 2. This particular value is going to be less than 2. In that h tends to 0 plus, so h is greater than 0. So 2 plus h is going to be some value which is greater than 2. Ipo in that value is less than 2. In that the value is greater than 2. So how do you interpret that from your graph? 2 plus h is less than 2 na. How do you write this? 2 plus h less than 2, I am going to look at values which are less than 2. So less than 2 na, it is going to take the value of 1. You see, if it is less than 2, it is going to take the value of 1. If it is greater than 2, what value it is going to take? Greater than 2 na, the 2 is over here. Greater than 2 na, it is going to take the value of 2. So what happens? In the less than 2 na, it is going to take the value of 1. If it is greater than 2, this is going to take the value of 2. And what is GIF of 2? In the GIF of 2 is going to be simply 2. So this is 2. And this is also 2. Ipo final answer enna agapodhu? Left hand limit is limit h tends to 0 minus of 1 minus 2 divided by h. In the pakko limit h tends to 0 plus of 2 minus 2 divided by h. Again the same problem, minus 1 divided by h. In the pakko 0 divided by h. And I apply the limit, I am going to have infinity over here and 0 over here. So I have LHL not equal to the right hand limit. So not differentiable at 2. Okay, please copy. So with this we are done with exercise 5.2. Let's move on to exercise 5.3 and other example questions. Okay, bye.